Chapter 1291. Order was born in the primal chaos tower tunnel as strands of powerful life energy flowed out. The Grade 8 Genesis brush had reached a crucial moment in its evolution. Primal chaos surged within the brush's inner world, filling it with the phenomenon of the beginning of the world. The Genesis brush's evolution was truly beset with difficulties. In the past, the Grade 7 Genesis brush's evolution had exhausted Su Yan's wealth. Now, the Grade 8 Genesis brush's evolution had shocked even Su Yan. Hundreds of thousands of kilograms worth of primal chaos materials had been thrown in, but the evolution was still not complete. Although Su Yan's status was high and he controlled a huge amount of wealth, this kind of loss made him feel pained. The Genesis brush's output was extremely frightening and had now reached a crucial point. Tens of thousands of kilograms of primal chaos materials were used every day to satisfy the Genesis brush's absorption needs. Fortunately, Su Yan possessed a huge amount of primal chaos liquid. Otherwise, the Genesis brush's evolution would have been interrupted and all his wealth would have been for naught. If I really used the accompanying immortal herbs, the Genesis brush's evolution would require at least 1,000,000 kilograms of primal chaos materials. This is an enormous amount of wealth that even the Apex clans would find difficult to take out. It's really burning money. Su Yan was speechless. However, the more the Genesis brush swallowed, the happier he became. It now seemed that the Grade 8 Genesis brush was truly amazing. It was able to produce the order of the world on its own, and was about to evolve a brand new little universe. One had to admit that the Genesis brush was an extremely miraculous creation. With each passing day, the Genesis brush's aura of life grew stronger and stronger, and the phenomenon of the beginning of the world also grew stronger and stronger. When 10 days and nights passed, the Genesis brush suddenly swelled to an incomparably large size, as if a heavenly brush of the great Tao had been born. Its entire body was covered in dazzling symbols that could easily change the world and recreate the universe. Rumble. The Genesis brush released the dazzling light of order. It seemed to possess the ability to split the world apart, and as it burned, the symbols of order began to appear on the Genesis brush's body. They were like words, very complicated and special. Every word was strange and ever-changing, like a Qilin, a black tortoise, a true dragon, a vermilion bird. It seemed as if it was about to give birth to millions upon millions of characters, revealing the mysterious power of the heavens. This made even Su Yan nervous. The most critical moment had arrived. The entire Genesis brush was bathed in divine splendor, like a special creature that was evolving towards the universe. Su Yan's expression changed drastically. He had discovered that the Genesis brush was finding it extremely difficult to contain the energy. Cracks had appeared on it, and it looked like it was about to explode. Immortal medicine companion creature. Su Yan flung his sleeve, causing golden liquid to splatter onto the Genesis brush. The Genesis brush glowed brightly. This was the immortal essence that had seeped into the Genesis brush, causing its toughness to soar. It was as if an indestructible divine metal had been born. It's almost done. When Su Yan caught it, the Genesis brush gave birth to an extremely grand power, as if the universe itself was revolving. Such power made Su Yan incomparably excited. Boom! The golden Genesis brush emitted a heaven-splitting aura. The characters born from the brush gradually became clearer and more blazing. It was as if millions upon millions of metallic characters were engraved on the Genesis brush. From inside to outside, it emitted extremely mysterious undulations that could easily change the heavens and earth, recreating the universe. Moreover, the Genesis brush would shatter the space-time and destroy the world. It would create a brand new world within the Genesis brush's special mysteries. Ha ha! Su Yan laughed heartily at the sky. His hand also grasped the Genesis brush. This was the feeling of being connected to flesh and blood. Su Yan really felt that the Genesis brush was causing his own mysterious power to soar. It was like adding wings to a tiger. He felt that he could rewrite the structure of the universe at any time. This was the embodiment of a powerful cultivator. To be able to rewrite the structure of the universe at any time. One could imagine how shocking the help the grade 8 Genesis brush was to Su Yin. Be's easy. After the Genesis brush's evolution, it quieted down and turned back into a golden heavenly brush, returning to its normal appearance. Su Yan's eyes were fixed on the golden Genesis brush. It was densely covered in millions of mysterious symbols. When the brush tip spat out, it was enough to scatter millions of mysterious symbols and rewrite the structure of the universe. What a good grade 8 Genesis brush. This thing is really mysterious. Su Yan couldn't help but sigh. Ever since Bamboo Moon gave him the Genesis brush seed, it had been evolving and growing with him. It was currently in the grade 8 domain. However, Su Yan thought that there was still grade 9 above grade 8. If the Genesis brush evolved to grade 9, how many resources would it consume? It would most likely require millions of kilograms of chaos materials. This might not be enough. If it evolved in the next stage, the failure rate would be very high. There is almost no chance of success. Grade 9 Genesis brush? Grade 9 mysterious gate? I wonder where the limit of the mysterious gate is. Su Yan pondered and felt that the chances were extremely slim. Moreover, although he had grasped the heavenly momentum and topography chapters, it would be very difficult to cultivate to the grade 9 realm. He didn't know what kind of conditions were required, and he didn't know how strong such a person was. Moreover, Su Yan had only just entered the grade 8 realm. If he was a peak grade 8 martial grandmaster, his methods would be unpredictable. Perhaps he was an expert in the same domain as an immortal. At this time, Su Yan put away the Genesis brush and appeared in front of the alchemy furnace. He personally controlled the alchemy furnace to refine a furnace of precious treasure liquid. As for the evolution of the humanoid puppet, it had also reached a critical juncture. Countless precious treasure liquids were constantly nourishing the humanoid puppet. Its withered life force was reviving. It was like a sleeping creature from ancient times, emitting a strong and powerful vitality. Su Yan could even hear the sound of heartbeats, one after another. It was like the beating of a heavenly drum, shaking heaven and earth. Could it be that this puppet still has life? Su Yan was slightly absent-minded. He said, Big Brother said that it is a puppet from the uncanny craftsmanship series that is hard to find. Then it is very likely to be the strongest puppet. How strong is the limit of this puppet? Could it really have life and can cultivate like a human? Create life? Su Yan was scared. Who could do that? Even immortals couldn't do it because immortals could also die. If immortals could create life, then how could immortals die? Who could create life? Su Yan felt that no one could do it. Even if it was to create an ant with life, it was basically impossible. However, Su Yan was a little confused. The universe could do it. The universe could create life and give birth to all things. However, if powerful people could destroy the universe, why couldn't the strong do it? You're thinking too deeply. Su Yan shook his head and his gaze fell on the puppet. The bronze puppet faintly exuded an indestructible aura. It emitted the power of divinity and demons, becoming increasingly tyrannical with each passing day. The pounding sound of its heart also became increasingly deafening. Every day that passed, the puppet's deterrence grew a little stronger. When the supreme treasure liquid was almost completely absorbed by the puppet, Su Yan discovered that the bronze puppet began to surge with an ancient energy, releasing it. Is it coming? Su Yan's eyes widened. He poured the great earth lotion onto the humanoid puppet's body. From this moment on, the puppet was like a living being that had been resurrected from the dead. It erupted with a monstrous divine light. Its bronze body was as majestic as a pillar that supported the heavens, releasing a heaven-shaking divine might that was difficult to nurture. Even someone as powerful as Su Yan felt a sense of pressure. This puppet was far too powerful. The ancient energy was activated. The divine might was vast and boundless. The power of divinity and demons pierced through the heavens and earth. when the puppet absorbed all of the supreme treasure liquid and great earth lotion. The bodily functions it released were far too powerful. It suppressed all living beings. Su Yan felt even more pressure. He felt like he would be suppressed by the puppet in a single exchange. It's still not enough. Continue. I want a puppet at the immortal realm, the limit of a supreme existence. Even if it surpasses the limit of a supreme existence, it won't be able to display the combat strength of an immortal. In a future calamity, this puppet will be of no help to me. Su Yan was burning with anxiety. The current puppet was extremely strong, equivalent to an indestructible body, but it still wasn't enough. It was still far from Su Yan's expectations. An immortal wasn't so weak. If it really evolved into an immortal, it wouldn't just be this pressure, but the ancient treasures within the puppet were extremely difficult to activate with the current resources. This puppet that was hard to find in the world had once suffered a severe loss of energy. Just this supreme treasure liquid alone wasn't enough to completely revive the humanoid puppet. As Su Yan nervously watched, he discovered that the puppet was gently trembling. Powerful bodily functions were released, an ancient divine might boiled over. Bang! In an instant, the puppet seemed to have come back to life. It was breathing. The entire tunnel's energy dried up, causing Su Yan's hairs to stand on end. He felt as if his life was about to be swallowed up. The bronze puppet was like a person cultivating. It swallowed the world energy, and this swallowing power even affected the outside world. What was outside the tunnel? Even the remnants of the universe's source energy had an inestimable value. Now, Su Yan was shocked to discover that as the puppet spat out energy, the universe's source energy began to fly towards the puppet. If I can absorb the mysterious yellow origin, the puppet can definitely restore itself to the level of an immortal. Su Yan was ecstatic. A massive amount of mysterious yellow origin swept over, piercing through the humanoid puppet. From this moment on, the puppet's exhausted potential began to burn. Wisps of terrifying immortal power of divinity and demons surged out, causing Su Yan to tremble and cough up blood. Powerful, outrageous. This puppet was truly tyrannical to the extreme. It surged with the unrivaled strength of divinity and demons. The stronger it became, the faster it absorbed the source energy. Until now, a massive amount of universe's source energy had turned into a massive wave, sweeping towards the puppet. An ancient life was being revived. Powerful potential was being reborn. Terrifying bodily functions were surging out in all directions. Space and time collapsed, creating many large cracks. If not for this tunnel being so powerful, it would have long been crushed by the puppet. What is this aura? Far away in the purple bamboo forest of the temple, a woman with snow-white hair opened her eyes wide. She had caught an aura. An immortal's aura began to appear in the Chaos Pagoda. Not good. The purple-clothed woman's face changed. Could it be that a powerhouse had broken into the Chaos Pagoda? This aura clearly did not belong to Su Yan, but someone else. She rushed in, and just as she was about to step into the tunnel, she was shocked. She saw a figure standing in the tunnel. It was as tall as the heavens and earth, its might shaking the sun and moon, emitting a terrifying Overlord aura. Vaguely, it bloomed with the light of immortal Tao. It was like a true immortal, terrifying to the extreme. Chapter 1292. An Overlord powerhouse stood with his head above the heavens, looking down on the universe. He was peerlessly terrifying. The surging demonic light cut through space and time, releasing an aura that suppressed the universe. The puppet surged with demonic aura. The aura it released was truly abnormal. It could easily destroy the sea of stars and blow up ancient life stars. This was an immortal, a forbidden life form. It was peerless and faintly released the light of the immortal Tao. It was like a true immortal god standing between the heavens and earth, looking down on the universe with disdain. At first, the purple-clothed woman was alarmed. She wanted to rush up and drive him out, thinking that this was an enemy that had infiltrated the Chaos Pagoda. But soon after, the purple-clothed woman's expression changed. She discovered that this fiend god powerhouse had the thick fluctuations of a metallic life form. It didn't seem like a person, but more like a puppet, a special life form forged from metal. Was this a metallic life form? The purple-clothed woman's hair was white as snow. She didn't act rashly, calmly looking at this powerhouse. It was devouring the mysterious yellow origin. The mysterious yellow origin in the outside world was almost completely absorbed by it. However, its growth conditions were also limited, making it difficult for it to continue improving. The phenomena in front of them completely dispersed. The demonic god puppet regained its calm. A bronze humanoid puppet stood in the tunnel, powerful and terrifying. A puppet. The purple-clothed woman was stunned. This was a puppet? What kind of joke was this? Suyin was a bit apprehensive. He was worried that the Dao Palace's taboo would be envious. After all, the puppet's evolution wasn't limited to this. It could continue to grow stronger, but to what extent it could evolve to in the future was still unknown. He believed that this puppet would have a fatal attraction to the taboo. "Brat, what are you looking at?" The purple-clothed woman glared at Suyin. This puppet was indeed a supreme treasure. Even she was envious of it, but it wasn't to the point of fighting over it. Moreover, a puppet of this level had an owner. Wanting to obtain one was extremely difficult. Even if one possessed it, wanting to use it wasn't that easy. Suyin smiled awkwardly. "It's nothing. Is my puppet all right? It has the combat strength of an immortal. In the future, even if the universe's environment returns, I can rely on it to resist those taboo powerhouses." Hearing this, the purple-clothed woman shook her head. "You think too much. Do you really think you can revive this puppet?" "What do you mean?" Suyin's expression changed slightly as he stared at the puppet. Could it be that he was unable to control it? If my guess is correct, this puppet was severely damaged. Although you've repaired it now, a puppet of this level is not something you can control. The purple-clothed woman's hair was as white as snow. She calmly said, "Moreover, if you hadn't been severely injured when you obtained the puppet, you wouldn't have been able to control it. Although you are its master now, with the current strength of the puppet, you will be able to control it. There's no hope for you to master it." The purple-clothed woman's words left Suyin dumbfounded. Uncontrollable? He had paid an enormous price to make the puppet evolve to this level, but now an undying was telling him that this puppet wasn't something he could control. "If you don't believe me, you can give it a try." The purple-clothed woman narrowed her eyes and stared at Suyin, as if she wanted to see him make a fool of himself. Suyin gritted his teeth. He didn't believe that he couldn't activate the puppet's strength. With a thought, the puppet flew to Suyin and merged with Suyin's battle body. As expected, this is a puppet of the uncanny craftsmanship series. This kid is really lucky to be able to get a puppet of this level. He's really lucky. The purple-clothed lady's eyes turned red. The price of this thing was higher than the sky. Not only was it hard to find in the entire world, it was also extremely difficult to find many of them even in the vast and boundless cultivation world. If news of Suyin possessing such a puppet were to spread, who knew how terrifying a bloody storm it would cause? After all, the puppet's strength was not limited to this. It could continue to increase its current strength. Who knew how strong its limit was? However, even if it was only an immortal-level puppet, it was still a rare treasure in the world. Wong. When Suyin merged with the human-shaped puppet, his entire body trembled. His flesh shell showed signs of collapsing. In an instant, Suyin let out a painful roar. His face trembled and his entire body seemed to bend. He was about to explode from the puppet's surging power. Puff! Suyin coughed up a mouthful of blood. He fell to one knee, his entire body trembling. He tried to control the puppet's energy, but the moment he fused with the puppet, his entire body trembled. He couldn't control the puppet at all. If he triggered the puppet's energy to penetrate his body, he would definitely explode and die. Damn it! Suyin clenched his teeth, blood flowing out from the gaps between his teeth. His eyes were red. How could he accept this? This was his strongest trump card, but he couldn't use it. Instead, he would be injured by it. Suyin had no choice but to take out the human-shaped puppet from his body. He lay paralyzed on the ground, gasping for breath. However, the pain in his body couldn't compare to the bitterness in his heart. How can this be? Su Yin smiled bitterly. He couldn't control the puppet. This isn't strange. The purple-clothed woman laughed. She seemed really heartless as she said, "Do you really think immortal-level experts are cabbages? It's not that easy to obtain the power of immortal-level experts. Although you really found a shortcut, immortal-level experts are too strong." "I think so." The purple-clothed woman walked with light steps. She arrived in front of Su Yin. She looked down at the miserable Su Yin and said, "Why don't you sell the puppet to me? I'll use my life weapon to exchange for it. How about it?" Su Yin bared his teeth and curled his lips. No. This puppet was given me by my big brother. I can't sell it. I can't sell it. Don't scare me with the taboo behind you." The purple-clothed woman rolled her eyes. She was charming and petite. She said, "I'm serious about making a deal with you. If you don't want to, then forget it. I won't force you." Su Yin naturally wouldn't agree. He shook his head and refused. He was disappointed. If he couldn't control the puppet, he would never be able to use this trump card. Then, before the universe's environment changed, would he still have any hope of reaching the immortal level? All right. The purple-clothed woman nodded slightly and said, "If you want to control this puppet, you have to cultivate immortal-level energy. I think your cultivation has reached its limit." Su Yin nodded and said, "Yes, I can now draw on the origin energy to shape my body and completely enter the realm of Almighty. If I wasn't waiting for the puppet to evolve, I would have started a few days ago. I'll protect you. You can start now." The purple-clothed lady looked at the cauldron of supreme treasure liquid that Su Yin was refining and said, "Leave this cauldron to me as well. Hurry up. I feel that the origin source will appear within 5 years of your time." Su Yin naturally knew. He took a deep breath, and the other 2 incarnations flew to the figure sitting cross-legged at the end of the tunnel. When the 3 incarnations merged into one, Su Yan's whole body surged. His battle strength increased by a notch. This was the strongest technique of 1 chi into 3 pure ones. Once the 3 incarnations merged into one, their battle strength would skyrocket in a short period of time. The figure sitting cross-legged at the end of the tunnel suddenly stood up. He opened up his body, mind, and body and started to devour fiercely. Boom! Inside the smooth origin world, countless mysterious yellow origin flowers suddenly rolled out. Each flower was heavier than billions of kilograms and contained the origin energy that could seize the fortune of heaven and earth. A huge amount of origin energy rushed into Su Yan's body. For a moment, Su Yan let out a long roar. His body was bathed in the mysterious yellow origin and blazed 10,000 times. It was as if he had returned to his mother's womb and was being reborn. Su Yan, who had been nourished by the mysterious yellow origin for a long time, now returned. When he merged with this substance, his entire body erupted with a terrifying golden divine light that was enough to shatter the sky and split the sea. One could see with the naked eye that Su Yan's blood and chi was steaming. It was as thick as a dragon. Tens of thousands of blood and chi filled the sky, forming a picture of thousands of dragons soaring into the sky. Under the nourishment of the mysterious yellow origin, his blood and chi were much richer. His entire body was nourished by the origin energy as if it had turned into a carrier of the great Tao, carrying the mysterious yellow and enriching the terrifying source of life. What a god! The purple-clothed woman knew that Su Yin was strong, but she didn't expect him to be so tyrannical. His life body had expanded by a lot, and his battle strength was several times more turbulent than before. He was like a real golden war immortal. The rolling tide of blood and chi was enough to drown one big region after another. Even Su Yan's improvement was more than that. He was getting stronger day by day. He was stealing the boundless origin energy and growing strong. After 9 days and 9 nights, Su Yan's aura was berserk. He felt that he had reached the limit of his growth, and it was difficult for him to make any progress. Boom! Finally, Su Yan's skull gushed out a heavenly dragon. It pierced through the heavens and looked down on the 8 desolates and 10 lands. It surged with a supreme heavenly might. Even in prehistoric times, this kind of hero would be extremely difficult to come by. The purple-clothed woman was even more shocked. She admitted that she was not as good as Su Yan when she was young. The difference was too great. A supreme almighty with blood and chi like a heavenly dragon. Anyone who saw this kind of vision would lose their color. This also meant that Su Yan had supreme potential. Boom! Su Yan was like a dragon breathing, causing the heaven and earth to shake. If this was the outside world, the cultivation movement would be even more shocking. This was a supreme almighty. He bathed in the mysterious yellow origin and swallowed the sea of stars. His background was unimaginably tyrannical, comparable to the most powerful heroes of prehistoric times. However, Su Yan was silent. He sat down cross-legged, but there was no joy in his heart. The atmosphere in the tunnel was a little quiet. The purple-clothed woman sighed softly and said, "Can you feel it?" Su Yan finally reacted to the voice. He clenched his fists and looked up at the purple-clothed woman. He said, "How did you break through to the immortal realm?" Su Yan realized that he had reached his limit. This was really the limit of life. There was no way to improve anymore. Even the path of cultivation had reached its limit. It was a limit that could not be surpassed. Why did he have such a feeling? He was a little depressed. He felt that it had nothing to do with the suppression of the environment. This was the limit that Su Yan could not break through. Why was he depressed? It was not because he could not step into the immortal realm. It was because it was really difficult to break through the limit in a few years. That damned old man must have paid a huge price back then. The purple-clothed woman, whose hair was as white as snow, recalled the past. She said bitterly, "You don't have to be like this. You're already very outstanding. If you want to blame someone, blame the heaven and earth. Even if the environment of the universe returns, it will be extremely difficult to step into the immortal realm." "Is there no hope?" Su Yan asked in a deep voice. "When you asked me for the first time, I said that I would tell you after you became a supreme almighty. Actually, at that time, I didn't want you to feel despair." The purple-clothed woman said softly, "Now that you have become a supreme almighty, seeing how powerful you are, you might not feel despair. Maybe there is some hope, but this hope is too slim. If you continue to try, the chances of dying are too high." Chapter 1293. 10 out of 10 deaths and 1 out of 1 life. With such a low probability, unless one was extremely lucky and survived. Moreover, even if one survived, they might not succeed. Who would dare to try it so easily? It was too difficult to step into the immortal realm. It had nothing to do with comprehension, but with the universe. It was an extremely cruel reality for the top creatures in the universe, but they had to accept it. Of course, there were several ways to break through to the immortal realm. It was not a dead end, but none of them could do it. The risk was too high, so not many people dare to try it. "Old man, I wonder if he's dead or alive now." The purple-clothed woman rarely felt melancholy. She thought of the past that she did not want to recall. This was one of the biggest reasons why she stayed in the Chaos Tower to guard the origin of the universe. Although she had become the first and only immortal in this era, the price she had to pay was unimaginable for Su Yan. Back then, the old man had used a large amount of immortal substance to mature the woman in Purple's body, giving birth to the immortal origin in her body. Although she had become an immortal, it was very likely that she had paid the price with the old man's life. How could this be? It's too cruel. Su Yan's face was gloomy. To break through the taboo, one had to pay with the life of an immortal realm expert? How could it be so ridiculous? It didn't make sense. The greater the potential, the more immortal energy it would cost. Given Su Yan's potential, Fairy Zixia estimated that even if the old man was here, he might not be able to nurture the immortal energy in Su Yan's body even at the cost of his life. Because Su Yan's potential was much greater than the purple-clothed woman's, this path was almost hopeless for Su Yan. Humans have their limits. It's really difficult for the human body to produce immortal substance. The purple-dressed woman said solemnly, Even the strongest heroes will find it difficult to produce such a substance in their body, unless an immortal is willing to nurture your body with the immortal substance in their body and nurture immortal energy. However, the price is unbearable. Besides, you have great potential. The failure rate is too high. The purple-clothed woman couldn't forget. Back then, the damned old man's undying substance leaked out from his body, allowing her to become an undying being. She couldn't bear to think about it. Only by killing an undying being can a new undying being be born. What a joke. Is there no other path? Suyin clenched his fists. Who would dare to believe such a thing? However, this was the fastest shortcut to breaking through. Of course, there was another shortcut, and that was the immortal medicine. If one could get their hands on a complete stock of immortal medicine, there would be hope for them to step into the immortal realm. Immortal medicines are hard to find throughout the world. This is something that no one would give away for free. The price one has to pay might be even more terrifying. Suyin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had once narrowly missed 2 stalks of celestial medicine. In the past, Suyin found the golden crow immortal medicine in the ancestral realm and the immortal phoenix immortal medicine in the abyss. Both of them were extremely rare treasures. There was a certain chance of obtaining the golden crow immortal medicine. But what about the immortal phoenix immortal medicine? The situation there was too terrifying. Who would dare to rashly step into it? Although Su Yin had stepped into the realm of supreme powerhouses and could travel the world with his avatar, the death rate would definitely be higher if he tried to seize celestial medicine. This path couldn't be taken. There are only these 2 paths. Su Yin asked again. He was unwilling to give up. He was already a supreme powerhouse and had cultivated to the ranks of the strongest in the universe. There was no way for him to improve. However, if the environment of the universe returned to normal, no matter how strong one was, it would still be difficult to resist the pressure of an undying being. Of course, there is a third path. The purple-robed woman clenched her jade-like hands and said in a low voice, "I tried this path in the past and almost died. This path is very difficult. At the same time, this path is also the most terrifying path." The most terrifying path? Su Yan's eyes lit up. This path depends on oneself. If you can rely on yourself to cultivate the immortal substance. The purple-robed woman said in shock, "That is true strength. This is a peerless and terrifying undying being. However, these undying beings are as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. If you want to succeed, the chances are too slim. I don't think you have any hope, although you were stronger than me in the past." "What do you mean?" Su Yan's heart was burning with hope. The future was already a dead end. Now that he saw a glimmer of hope, he would definitely give it a try. "You are a supreme powerhouse and have been nourished by the universe's origin. Now, you are invincible in the black-yellow universe. No one can be your opponent." The purple-robed woman said, "In fact, we can call this realm the pinnacle of human Tao. As for undying beings, in a true sense, a large amount of immortal substance is produced in their body, which can extend their lifespan. People are born, grow old, get sick, and die. Even the most powerful powerhouses will face the day when their vitality will dry up and they will die." The purple-robed woman said, "This is reasonable. However, undying beings are different. They have cultivated the immortal substance. You should know how heaven-defying this substance is. Since supreme powerhouses are the pinnacle of human Tao, undying beings are equivalent to transcending the past and becoming immortals." The purple-robed woman sighed. "This realm is indeed very powerful. They can control the immortal substance and live forever. If they have a large amount of resources, they will naturally live longer and longer. Any undying being is an overlord. Even in prehistoric times, undying beings were the pinnacle of combat strength. They could establish supreme sex and live forever." The purple-robed woman said, "Undying beings are also divided into 3, 6, and 9 levels. The weakest undying beings rely on the cultivation of their predecessors and use the immortal substance to nurture the immortal force in their body. In other words, They have been blessed by their predecessors to nourish their body and obtain the immortal substance. Of course, it's impossible to say that this kind of undying being is the weakest. There are always exceptions. I once read a record that 99% of the creatures in the universe relied on this method to enter the undying realm. As for the second type of immortal medicine, nurturing undying substance, then this point is even more powerful. Immortal medicine, this type of substance is hard to find, too precious. These two paths of breaking through into the undying realm, of course there are other paths, but I don't know of any. As for the third method, it is the most terrifying one. It relies on oneself to excavate the strongest body and explore the immortal profound. According to the historical records, this method is very difficult to break through. Once you break through, you can almost dominate the world. However, this method is too risky. If you, Su-Yin, have the resources that you can obtain now, you may have some hope. The purple-robed woman said in a low voice, I had this condition in the past, but I failed and almost died several times. Su-Yin's heart was heavy. If he failed in his attempts, he would need heavenly materials and earthly treasures to recover. With Su-Yan's realm, if he was seriously injured, the consumption of resources would be frightening. It could easily exhaust the resources of a peak clan. At this time, the purple-robed woman took out a jade bone book and passed it to Su-Yin. The palm-sized bone book was like a huge mountain. Although it wasn't big, there were too many words inscribed on it. There were at least 1,000,000 words. Su-Yin was shocked. He stared at the contents of the bone book and studied it. The first half of the book was about a cultivator's experience in the various realms, as well as their cultivation methods. As for the latter half, it was especially shocking, causing Su-Yin to be greatly moved. He felt that the tip of the iceberg of the vast cultivation world had appeared before his eyes. Xian people. Su-Yan's mind trembled. The little ancestor of the ancestral hall, known as the Xian people, he cultivated the immortal seal and controlled the immortal vast habitat. His battle strength was exceptional. Su-Yin couldn't forget this. Xian people's heaven-warping Ingjia, fighting at the peak of the human Tao. According to the rumors, he ignited his greatest potential in the extreme realm, forcing out undying energy, succeeding in a single battle. He is one of the most terrifying breakthroughs in history. There were many who tried to imitate him, but they all ended in failure. What kind of clan was this? Su-Yin didn't know. He had never heard of this before. Perhaps it was related to the outer realms. However, the contents recorded were too inconceivable. A battle between a powerful being and an undying being. What kind of vast world was this? A hero of the world? It was simply inconceivable. Su-Yin knew that he couldn't do it, although there was no way to verify the contents. Since it was widely circulated in the world, the possibility was huge. Inconceivable. Digging out undying potential in the extreme realm, succeeding in a single battle, becoming one of the most terrifying breakthroughs. He is the heaven-warping Ingjia of the Xian people. Su-Yin was shocked. He looked at the next line. The heaven's proud daughter of the sovereign sect found a peerless land of treasure. She drew the world's strongest Tao flame and refined it in a furnace for 81 days. She exhausted countless treasures of the world. In the end, her body became undying. There were also those who succeeded, but they were few and far between. A young war king of the war race was trapped in a place of death. After 10 years, he came out of seclusion and became an overlord in the immortal realm. It was said later that he was suppressed by the forbidden zone of life for 10 years. He defied the heavens to dig out the treasures in his body. There were also people who tried to imitate him, but the failure rate was 10 out of 10. The contents recorded in the bone books were extremely shocking. They could easily lead to death, but those who survived were dragons and phoenixes among men. They rose into the ranks of the young overlords of the world. Su-Yin was even moved when he looked down, because he saw a familiar clan. A young expert of the sky bamboo lineage obtained the fortune left behind by the clan's founder and stepped into the ranks of the undying. He once fought against an undying overlord and didn't fall into a disadvantageous position. This caused a huge commotion in the world. Unfortunately, the outside world didn't know what kind of fortune it was. Su Yin was moved. According to the purple-clothed woman, relying on one's own strength was the most terrifying, undying overlord. On the contrary, relying on external objects was slightly weaker. However, according to the records in the bone books, there was once a young expert of the sky bamboo lineage who obtained a fortune and directly broke through. He was actually not inferior to an undying overlord. This was too important. It caused a huge commotion. Everyone wanted to know how he broke through. After all, it was too difficult to rely on oneself to break through. If a clan spent a lot of effort to nurture an invincible genius, but in the end failed to break through to the immortal realm, the losses would definitely be disastrous. If he relied on external objects to become an undying overlord, it would be terrifying. Unfortunately, no one knew what kind of treasure he used. Moreover, it was related to the founder of a sect. The things involved were too shocking. Even if they could figure it out, how could it be a simple object? In the bone books, there were many experiences of breaking through. Although it wasn't detailed, it gave Su Yin a lot of inspiration. Absolute powerhouses were at the pinnacle of humanity. As for the next path, they had to rely on themselves. The next step would definitely be of great importance. Otherwise, the ancients wouldn't have used such cruel methods to try it out. Su Yin, let me ask you. The purple-clothed woman curiously asked, your clan's initiation scripture is known as the strongest scripture in the universe. Logically speaking, your clan's scripture should have a way to break through, right? Su Yin smiled bitterly. The initiation scripture was just a scripture that guided people's cultivation. It didn't have any profound meanings in the various major domains. The body was like the universe. It was broad and profound. Every major path depended on oneself. How far one could go depended on the individual. Looking at Su Yan's expression, the purple-clothed woman didn't ask any more questions. Scriptures that could be cultivated to the immortal realm were extremely valuable. Very few would be passed down, except for some rogue immortal realm experts. At this time, Su Yan's eyes narrowed. He thought of the strongest training ground in history. In that case, did the strongest training ground in history have any checkpoints to break through? Unfortunately, Su Yin was trapped in the primal chaos pagoda. He couldn't leave at all. Hence, he could only sigh. It seemed that he would have to rely on himself for the next path. You can decide for yourself. You must think carefully. The purple-clothed woman stood up and left. Before she left, she said, actually, I have some insights. Relying on oneself to break through is greatly related to one's primordial spirit. The bigger the heart, the bigger the world. Only when one's primordial spirit is strong enough can one deal with the next predicament. Chapter 1294. The purple-clothed woman floated away, and the entire tunnel fell into silence. Su Yin sat cross-legged at the end of the tunnel. His body didn't move at all like a statue. Soon, he roused himself again. His essence, energy, and spirit stood at the peak. A cruel path of transformation was about to begin. In truth, Su Yin didn't hesitate at all. He would choose to excavate the immortal treasures from his own body. The future environment he would face was too cruel. The path of an immortal overlord was one that had to be walked. If he didn't walk it, what he would face in the future would be death. Crackle, crackle. He clenched his fists. Since someone had succeeded, and there were so many examples, then he could do it too. Su Yin wasn't in a hurry to explore. His entire being calmed down once more. His appearance was solemn and dignified. His powerful body erupted with divine splendor. His body surged with extreme strength, as if he was touching upon the peak of the universe. Bang! Su Yin breathed in and out. His body shone and suddenly turned into a great furnace. He swallowed the world's divine energy and seized the world's energy to store it within his body. Su Yin was stabilizing his realm. He wasn't in a hurry to make a breakthrough. What he would face next would be extremely cruel, so he had to be in his best state to explore the immortal path. What was immortal? Su Yin didn't know. Perhaps only by experiencing life and death would one be able to break through the mysteries of immortality. From the characteristics of powerhouses recorded in the bone books, he concluded that one had to experience the cruelest tempering in order to unearth the greatest treasures of the mortal body. Only then would one be able to walk on the road of transformation. From a human to an immortal, the meaning was completely different. This was an extremely terrifying challenge and also an evolution of life's essence. Within the tunnel, a terrifying figure was swallowing and spitting out the world's divine energy to stabilize his realm and strengthen his foundation. At the same time, Su Yan's incarnation wasn't idling around. Heaven-mending technique. Su Yan was full of expectations. The heaven-mending technique had now become the most important support on this cruel path of transformation. This technique was the Burial Realm race's secret technique. There was no need to mention its value. This secret technique was naturally broad and profound. Studying it gave one the feeling of studying the one chi into three pure ones. This made Su Yan value the heaven-mending technique even more. He hoped that he could deduce the entire secret technique's essence soon. The refinement of the universe weapon is about to begin. His third incarnation sat in front of the furnace and accelerated the refinement process. Before long, he would be able to refine the universe weapon to the level of a supreme saint. Why did you ask Shangli to refine healing pills? Iron's expression. These pills were all used to refine. Of course, eat Lane. Yes, that's right. He's already at the peak of human Tao. It's time for him to take this step. The purple-clothed woman nodded. Iron Rooster said angrily, "Don't you know how high the failure rate is? Back then, I also tried it, but it was a narrow escape. If I had a special constitution, how could I have survived? Su Yan is strong, but he is walking on this path. There is no chance of survival. This is the most difficult path of immortality. What are you yelling for? Do you believe that I will roast you and eat you?" The purple-clothed lady's hair was as white as snow. She had the temperament of a celestial, but when she raged, she was extremely imposing. Iron shivered in fear and didn't dare to make a sound. Humph! The purple-clothed lady glared. Does he have a choice? Iron went silent. Yes, Su Yan didn't have a choice. Although Iron had forgotten some of his memories, he still remembered the experience of breaking through to the immortal realm. Too cool. The hope of breaking through by himself was extremely slim. However, Su Yan didn't have a choice. He had to take a gamble. Otherwise, he would die miserably. Even if he failed, Su Yan might not die. If you don't want to die in the future, you should obediently go into seclusion. The purple-clothed lady said indifferently, "Although you lost a lot in the Battle of Big Dipper, you might be able to break through the immortal realm with these special experiences." Iron's blood boiled. He also felt that the possibility was great. Once the environment of the future universe returned, he was prepared to give it a try. He might succeed. I need to go out for a while. Iron hurriedly left the temple. Although Shangli could refine some life-saving items for Su Yan, she probably wouldn't be able to refine many golden pills. He went to inform the Cosmos Business Alliance and asked them to search for treasures that could heal injuries. He believed that with Zi Xioning's ability, Su Yan would be of great help. In the current environment of the universe, it was difficult to compare it to the prehistoric era. However, the Cosmos Business Alliance was the #1 business alliance in the universe. They would certainly be able to find many treasures that would be of great help to Su Yan. He hurried to the Cosmos Business Alliance and found Zi Xioning to inform her of the seriousness of the situation. I understand. Zi Xioning was now a female magnate in the business world. She said in a deep voice, "I will do my best to search for these materials at all costs. Little girl, there's something you need to understand." The miser spread his wings and flew away. However, he left behind a sentence. On the day when the universe's environment returns, benefits and dignity are no longer important. The most important thing is to survive. Now that Su Yan has cut off the time when the overlords will return, he will be hated. Zi Xioning clenched her slender hands. Who didn't know that the time of the taboo's reappearance had been forcibly cut off by Su Yan? It had been 5 or 6 years since then, and the storm was still raging. I believe that in the future, Su Yan will definitely become the overlord and the strongest man. Xioning's eyes emitted a divine light. She had great confidence in Su Yan. At present, Su Yan was about to undergo the cruelest transformation. Without the support of his foundation, it would be extremely difficult for him to do it alone. Time passed by in a hurry. The universe where the young experts rose to prominence was uneventful. However, the environment of the universe had become somewhat terrible. Year after year passed, and the life energy of various regions had been severely depleted. Now, in the 6th year, the life essence of some great sects had begun to decline. Many people began to complain. If this continued, could the universe still be cultivated? Was it really going to enter an era of decline? However, news spread like wildfire in the universe and caused a terrifying commotion. Su Xianren is too vicious. For the sake of his own life, he turned a blind eye to all life in the universe. The environment of the universe should have returned, and the universe should have entered its most prosperous era. However, he prevented the return of the universe's origin, causing all life in the universe to suffer along with it. His intentions are merciless. When this news spread, the myriad races were in an uproar and the world was shaken. Thinking about it carefully, it was indeed so. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth had been depleted and wasn't suitable for cultivation. However, if the environment of the universe were to return, the situation would be greatly different. Su Xianren is too abominable. For his own sake, he's sacrificing the interests of all of us. How can he do this? Yes, the universe isn't his. What right does he have to prevent the return of the universe's origin? If the origin of the universe were to return, it would be easier to break through realms and cultivation. What right does Su Yan have to do this? To think that I used to respect him. Su Xianren is the grand Su Xianren. Isn't he sacrificing the interests of everyone in the world for his own sake? Our race's treasured lands have been damaged, and the resource lands have been mostly destroyed. If this continues, our race will suffer heavy losses. Su Yan, how can you do this? A terrifying torrent of anger surged through the entire cultivation world. Many clan experts whose spiritual chi had been depleted were cursing incessantly. The impact of this matter was too shocking. Because the environment of the universe was getting worse and worse, it was extremely difficult to find a pure land for cultivation. Even some dojos were beginning to silently deplete their spiritual chi. The problem was extremely serious. Now that the spearhead was pointed at Su Yan, how could it not cause a huge commotion? Ha ha ha! Su Yan is now the center of the entire universe. A group of experts from the sealed heaven domain was extremely excited. After all, this matter was reasonable and true. Now, Su Yan's notoriety had spread far and wide because of the secret words of the sealed heaven domain. Ridiculous, Su Yan. He still wants to enter the immortal realm. Wishful thinking. The guardians of the sealed heaven domain sneered. Our ancestor has said that it's impossible for this bastard to break through. There's no hope. In the future, he'll be a pitiful worm who will be cursed by the entire universe and crushed by taboos. Su Yan's road to death has come to an end. I like to see how many more years he can last. When the universe's environment gets worse, he'll become the center of the universe and his reputation will be destroyed. The experts of the sealed heaven domain were very proud. In the stormy world, the news spread to the buried heaven domain. Xiaoho and the others were extremely angry. He said angrily, "Damn it, who said these words?" That's right. Our clan's Su Yan harmed the interests of the world, but once the universe's environment returns, the darkness will attack. Who can resist it? In prehistoric times, the universe was destroyed by the extraterrestrial experts. Who was the one who lost? If it wasn't for the universe seal, this universe would have ceased to exist long ago. It must be the experts of the sealed heaven domain who said these words. Yi Ling Tian sneered. I hope they remember what they said today. A foreign taboo overlord cultivated the creatures of our universe and killed the creatures of our race's universe. They're just pawns of the taboo. It's not worth getting angry over this. Su Dalong walked over and said, in the future, they'll know what this day means. Even if we tell the truth, not many people will believe us. I wonder how Su Yin is doing in the Chaos Tower. It's been 6 years. I really want to see him. Yes, it's been 6 years. Has Su Yin stepped into the realm of supreme experts? Xiaoho and the others were silent. The universe's environment would return sooner or later, but this day was also Su Yan's deadlock. They couldn't calm down. Although the clan had developed rapidly these years, what they would face in the future was something even the old leader couldn't resist. The old leader wasn't in the clan these years. Instead, he brought a few great Dao Immortal Pearls and visited the various clans. He wanted to find the great Dao Immortal Pearls that were lost outside. The 36 great Dao Immortal Pearls were the most precious treasures of the buried heaven domain. What they could do now was very limited. They could only do their best to develop the clan. On this day, in the sealed tunnel of the Chaos Tower, an alchemy cauldron lit up. The lid opened, and flames surged, accompanied by endless light surging out. A cauldron of precious elixir was completely refined today. Su Yin placed the universe soldiers in it and watched with anticipation. This was also the last thing he had to do before entering the cruel transformation. Chapter 1295. Within the tunnel, a brilliant and resplendent light shone brightly. The pill furnace seemed to have turned into a weapon training pool. Cold light shot out in all directions, and the furnace was not calm at all. As time passed, the aura of a heavy artifact became increasingly terrifying and shocking. Su Yin had spent a lot of resources to refine a universe weapon this time. Now, what he wanted to refine was an absolute supreme saint weapon. The universe weapon that had accompanied him for many years was currently evolving into a saint weapon. As for the price that Su Yin had spent, it would definitely cause a huge commotion in the outside world. This was because these materials were enough to refine 5 or 6 peak saint weapons. But now, Su Yin was condensing the essence of these treasured materials to forge a true Overlord weapon. Dong! Dong! In the furnace, a raging fire was burning. A weapon was floating in the furnace. After being tempered thousands of times, it contained an endless amount of brilliance. Now that it was being tempered, it was becoming more and more shocking. Su Yin began to forge the power of order that he had cultivated into the weapon. The time spent on refining the artifact had exceeded Su Yan's expectations. A month had already passed. The difficulty of refining the artifact was extremely high. After all, he had taken out too many treasure materials. Wanting to refine all of them into the universe weapon at once was not an easy task. Of course, even if the aura of these stones collided with each other, with Su Yan's cultivation, he could still suppress them. Moreover, with the mighty power of the initial sutra, he could perfectly combine the power of over 100 rare, treasured materials together. Another month passed. The entire tunnel was filled with turbulent ripples. The pill furnace was almost unable to withstand the fluctuations released by the weapon. The furnace was shaking and could explode at any time. So strong, Su Yin was moved. After all, the artifact had been mixed with some supreme, treasured materials. Now that the artifact had taken shape, the aura it emitted was truly frightening. It was difficult for the pill furnace to withstand it. One had to know that this was a pill furnace at the level of a supreme saint weapon. It was also a treasure refined by the heaven refining furnace. Now that the pill furnace was about to explode, one could imagine how powerful the weapon that Su Yin was refining was. At that time, the supreme saint weapon would be split in half in a single exchange. Pu. Su Yin spat out a few mouthfuls of blood essence and sprinkled it on top of the pill furnace. Under the pouring of Su Yan's blood essence, the pill furnace's aura blazed by a large amount, and the burning flames in the furnace surged by more than a few times. Moreover, the essence of the blood was greedily absorbed by the universe weapon. Su Yin once again forced out some of his life essence blood, which caused his aura to weaken. However, the universe weapon was becoming more and more terrifying. It roared on its own all day long, swallowing the essence of heaven and earth. It even stimulated the energy of the mysterious yellow origin, which penetrated into the universe weapon. Su Yin was looking forward to the evolution of a universe soldier. Maybe when Su Yin stepped into the immortal realm in the future, his universe weapon would evolve as well. After all, it was Su Yan's natal weapon. It was one with Su Yan's mind and flesh. Now that the refining process had reached the stage of weapon nurturing, the weapon was strengthening its own foundation. Time was passing, and Su Yin was losing a portion of his life essence blood every day. In fact, Su Yin was secretly powerful. He could really spit out dozens of mouthfuls of his life essence blood. Without any materials, he could smelt out a heavy, killing weapon. In the future, when the calamity was coming, Su Yin had to forge a strong enough weapon to protect himself. He had to be like a tiger that had grown wings. Time flew by slowly, and almost a month had passed. Su Yin had declined to the extreme. He had no choice but to use a portion of the immortal medicines to stimulate his body to glow. The depleted blood essence was rapidly replenished. After a few days, a vast wave of energy surged out with a terrifying momentum. It was like the roaring of the vast sea of primal chaos, the boiling of the sea of the universe, and the stars in the heavens. Sinking. Boom! The pill furnace trembled violently and exploded. The moment the weapon came out, heaven and earth were split open. Primal chaos surged and divided into yin and yang. The stars in the heavens were born and started to revolve around the weapon. A terrifying aura pervaded the air. The void trembled, and time and space were on the verge of collapsing. This was a snow-white sword embryo interwoven with billions of law patterns. The moment the sword chi surged, the stars filled the sky and interweaved with primal chaos. They were accompanied by numerous giant vicious phantoms that wanted to cut down all things in the universe. This sword embryo was too sharp. It could easily chop off the head of a major character and was a threat to the life and death of even a pinnacle major character. This time, Su Yin didn't inject the Dao art that could change the form of the weapon into the universe weapon. After all, Su Yin didn't have the 100 transformations divine iron. Changing the form of the weapon would instead weaken the might of the current universe weapon. Now, Su Yin was holding the universe weapon. This weapon resonated with Su Yan's body, and they were connected by flesh and blood. This caused Su Yan's aura to rise sharply. He was like a human emperor who wielded great power over slaughter. He was peerlessly terrifying. Good. Su Yin laughed loudly. He was like a tiger that had grown wings. His battle prowess had increased by a level. Similarly, the cost of the universe weapon was too high. He had refined so many supreme treasure embryos and rare treasured materials. There was even a portion of peerless treasure materials. Of course, this weapon would definitely shine brightly in the cultivation world in the future. Of course, with the potential of the universe weapon, it wouldn't stop there. There was hope for it to evolve into an immortal weapon in the future. Phew! When Su Yin let go of the universe weapon, it streaked across the void and floated above Su Yan's head. Its killing intent leaked out. The Uncanny Craftsmanship series puppet, life weapon, and Grade 8 origin brush. I've completed all these missions and stepped into the pinnacle major character realm. I've spent almost 7 years. Su Yin took a deep breath and said slowly, I don't have much time left. The next hurdle is to break through to the immortal realm. Su Yin must succeed. He was encouraging himself. The road ahead would be very difficult. Su Yin had found a suitable way to break through to the immortal realm in the records of the past generations of people who relied on themselves to break through to the immortal realm. That was to rely on the black-yellow origin space to suppress his body and let him dig out the most terrifying treasures in the human body when he was at his limit. What was that? It was immortality, eternity. Buzz! Su Yin returned from the state of one chi into 3 pure ones. The 3 clones merged into one and turned into a brand new Su Yin. Su Yan's body rippled with even more powerful energy waves. At the moment when the 3 pure ones merged into one, Su Yan's battle prowess went berserk. His entire body released an extremely powerful spiritual will that tore through the barriers and charged into the immortal realm. In a short time, the entire tunnel had undergone a great change. The world at the end of the tunnel, where the mysterious yellow origin gathered, was so magnificent that it was unimaginable. Now, Suyin had issued a provocative will towards the mysterious yellow origin, causing the mysterious yellow origin to go berserk. It surged towards Suyin endlessly, bringing with it the crushing power of the universe. Such a terrible suppression could kill any grand cultivator with one touch. As a peerless grand cultivator, Suyan's body was unparalleled. However, under the suppression of the universe's origin, he felt as if he were carrying thousands of mountains on his back, which were about to crush his body and tear him apart. In a short time, Suyin experienced death. It was an extremely wonderful feeling. An expert at the peak of humanity, on the same level as the universe, was about to die. However, at the same time, Suyin felt that there was a vague and mysterious power in the human body that seemed to be unearthed. Then, he would be able to resist death and destruction, and pursue the realm of immortality and indestructibility. That's the power. Suyin was excited. He didn't expect that he would catch it in an instant. However, when Suyin was about to dig it out, his face changed drastically. He found that his body was out of control and was about to be crushed. It was a very special change. Although the human body had such potential, it was too difficult to dig it out. One careless mistake could lead to death. Then, Suyin coughed up blood. His body trembled and cracks appeared on his powerful body. Suyin couldn't hold on any longer under the suppression of the universe's origin. He let out a painful roar. He quickly calmed his breath and stabilized the violent origin of the universe. The first attempt ended in a hurry. He didn't get anything. Suyin wasn't dispirited. It was just the beginning. He still had a lot of time to try. At the end of the tunnel, Suyin's body was stained with blood. He was seriously injured, but there was an ancient chanting sound coming from his wounded body. It was as if a god in the chaos was chanting a supreme scripture. The heaven-patching technique was working. Strands of strange energy flowed in Suyin's body. It was enough to rebuild the universe and restore everything that had been destroyed. The heaven-mending art was the secret art of the Zhongyu clan. It was a healing saint art that seized the heavens and the earth. The decaying blood in his body boiled and surrounded his body, burning fiercely. His whole body glowed as his wounds healed. Even the blood on his body turned into a source of energy and returned to Suyin's body. It had to be said that the heaven-patching technique was too miraculous. Suyin's injuries healed extremely quickly. Of course, he also used some immortal medicines to recover. Suyin didn't want to spend too much time on healing. He would do it as quickly as possible. Although he still had a few years left, who knew what would happen next? Boom! After a few hours, Suyin's body was surging with the roar of a tsunami. His blood essence was roaring like a vast ocean, shaking the heavens and shaking the earth. All of his injuries were healed, and his body was surrounded by the light of heaven mending. His aura was also pushed to its peak. He didn't hesitate to launch the cruel training again. Within the tunnel, the origin energy of the universe surged over, covering the sky and earth as it cruelly suppressed Suyin. However, the potential in his body was mysterious, elusive, and untouchable. He also failed the second time. He didn't gain any experience. However, Suyin wasn't discouraged. He continued to threaten death again and again. He wanted to force out the strongest potential in his body. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. Suyin didn't know how many times he tried. He also didn't know how many life and death threats he experienced. In short, the countless deaths made Suyin's spirit about to collapse. This path was too difficult. Even someone as powerful as Suyin began to doubt himself. Although he experienced countless failures, Suyin's fighting strength became stronger and stronger. The immortal medicines had also been exhausted. He had already used divine medicines to heal his injuries. Because these two great substances combined with the heaven-patching stone to heal Suyin's injured body, Suyin's fighting strength improved by quite a bit. I must succeed. I can't fail. Suyin's eyes narrowed. His entire body surged with exuberant essence blood. His aura was powerful and shocking. The heaven patching technique healed Su Yan's injuries once again. After countless failures, Su Yan wasn't willing to accept the current situation. In the end, he brought out the humanoid puppet and merged with it. Since he couldn't see through the immortal realm, then he would try it at close range. Chapter 1296. It's really crazy. At this time, the purple-clothed woman came. In fact, during this period of time, the purple-clothed woman had been paying attention to Su Yan's progress. He had experienced countless failures, but Su Yan did not give up. Relying on the healing effect of the heaven patching technique, Su Yan climbed up again and again, fighting more and more bravely. His strength had increased, which made the purple-clothed woman feel incredulous. But so what? Su Yan still failed. He did not really dig out the immortal energy and force out the most terrifying potential in the human body. This kind of situation had happened too many times. Cultivators who could rely on themselves to break through were pitifully few. They were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. After all, their universe was too badly damaged. Working hard to update. Please refresh later to visit this chapter is working hard to update. Please refresh later to visit handsome man and beautiful woman visiting on the phone. Please register a member first. Register a member of this site and use the bookshelf bookmark function to read more conveniently. If this chapter is nonsense like the author asking for votes, please skip it and continue to read the next chapter. Please save this page first so that you can read it later. Otherwise, you won't be able to find this chapter later. Recommended Great God Author Lin Yu Jiangyan. City Best Son-in-Law Lin Yu Jiangyan %3 8% 2F %2F %2 FBOOK %2F 18% 2F1 8289% 2F Content Summary. Before Master left, he left when Tian a line of the sect's secret life-saving mantra. He said that if he cultivated diligently, there would be a miraculous effect. P.S. All the techniques, Tao formulas, secret techniques, etc. in this book came from the sect's secret collection. Those who are not true disciples should not practice them. Remember, be careful, Percent E3%, 80%, 80%, E6%, 9C%, 80%, E4% BD% B, 3%, E5%, E5% B, 3%, E5%, A9% BF%, E6% 9, E% 97%, E7% B% BD%, E6% B, 1% 9F%, E9%, 2% 9C. Percent E8% BD%, AC%, E9%, 80%, 81%, E9%, 97%, 8%, E5% 9C% B0%, E5% 9D%, 80% EF% BC% 9, A% 3, A% 2F%, 2F%, 2FBOOK% 2F 18%, 2F1 8, 289%, 2F%, 0 A%, 0 A%, E3%, 80%, 80%, E3%, 80%, 80%, 3 A%, 2F%, 2F%, 2FBOOK%, 2F 18%, 2F1 8, 289%, 2F% 0, A%, 0, A%, E3%, 80%, 80%, E3%, 80%, 80%, E5%, 86%, 85%, E5% AE% B9%, E8% AF% 95%, E8% AF% BB% EF% BC% 9, A% 3, A% 2F%, 2F%, 2FBOOK%, 2F 18%, 2F1 8289%. Chapter 1 Witnessing My Own Cremation. I'm sorry. We've tried our best. Prepare for your funeral. The doctor's voice was very soft outside the ward, but Lin Yu heard it clearly on the hospital bed. Perhaps people's hearing would become exceptionally sensitive before they died, especially his mother's cries, which were exceptionally sharp. Lin Yu was not the first to sacrifice his life for a just cause. He did not regret it, but he felt sorry for his mother. His father died early, and his mother brought him up single-handedly. He did not know how much she had suffered. Now that he was admitted to the Qinghai City People's Hospital with excellent results, his life with his mother was about to brighten up, but he did not expect such an accident to happen. God damn it. Good people really did not have good karma. Lin Yu cursed in a low voice. His eyelids could not hold on any longer, and he slowly closed them. My son! A shrill cry suddenly woke Lin Yu up. He opened his eyes and realized that he was standing at the end of the bed, and his mother was crying loudly on the bed. Mom, why are you crying? Am I not here perfectly fine? Lin Yu was overjoyed, thinking that he had magically recovered. He reached out his hand to pat his mother, but realized that his hand actually went through his mother's body. His mother did not have the slightest reaction. She was still crying on the bed. Lin Yu's expression changed. He looked up and saw that he was still lying on the bed. His face was dry and green. Obviously, he was no longer alive. I'm dead. Lin Yu looked down at himself, standing at the end of the bed. He realized that his body was somewhat pale and slightly transparent. Lin Yu was shocked. It turned out that there was a soul after death. New Year's Eve was released on the Chinese website. No matter what he said or did, his mother could not feel it. With the help of a nurse, his mother reluctantly put on Lin Yu's shroud. Then, the nurse moved his body into the funeral car. His mother followed him into the car and sat beside his body. She gripped his hand tightly as tears flowed out of her red and swollen eyes. Don't worry. I'll go down to accompany you as soon as I'm done here. For her son was her everything. If her son was dead, there was no meaning for her to live in this world. Lin Yu panicked when he heard that his mother wanted to commit suicide. He imitated the scene in the movies and lay on the corpse. However, it did not work. Every time he sat up, only his soul would be left. The car soon arrived at the crematorium. After paying, the staff put on a simple makeup for Lin Yu and gave his mother a number plate. Then, the crematorium staff pushed Lin Yu's body to the crematorium. No! When the crematorium staff pushed his body into the crematorium, Lin Yu broke down instantly. As his body burned, Lin Yu felt that his consciousness was weakening. There were countless faint light spots on his body that were dispersing in all directions. His soul was also slowly fading. At the same time, another world began to flash before his eyes. What entered his eyes was endless darkness, mixed with red flames and shrill screams. New August 1st Chinese Network Hell. This was the first thought that flashed through Lin Yu's consciousness. A strong sense of fear instantly engulfed him. His soul subconsciously bumped around in the air. The light spots were still floating out of his soul, and the speed was getting faster and faster. The world of hell in his eyes was getting clearer and clearer. He could hear a mysterious and hoarse voice calling out to him from below. At this moment, Lin Yu's body in the crematorium was almost burned to ashes. A jasper-colored pendant in the ashes suddenly glowed brightly in the raging fire. This was left to Lin Yu by his grandfather when he passed away. He had been wearing it since he was young. When he was wearing the shroud, his mother deliberately did not take it off. The pendant's light grew brighter and brighter. Then it broke with a bang. A wisp of dark green light rushed out of the pendant and attached itself to Lin Yu's soul. Then, an old voice sounded in his mind. I am your ancestor's saint. From today onwards, you are my successor. You will receive my medical skills. You will practice medicine to help the world and save others and yourself. Then, the voice dissipated. A huge amount of information suddenly flooded Lin Yu's mind. Medical skills, cultivation techniques, and some of his ancestors' travel experiences all rushed into Lin Yu's mind. Lin Yu felt very excited as he read the information in his mind. It was as if he had opened the door to a new world. However, this excitement was fleeting. What was the use of receiving the inheritance of the secret skill? He was already a dead man who was about to go to hell. As this thought flashed through his mind, a memory related to the resurrection technique suddenly popped up in Lin Yu's mind. The memory showed that through the resurrection technique, a person whose soul had not dissipated after death could be reborn by possessing another body. However, Lin Yu's physical body had already turned into ashes in the fire. Fortunately, there was also a record of the resurrection technique. When a physical body is destroyed, turn into a ghost. Find a living body and possess it. Lin Yu took a deep breath. It meant that if his physical body was damaged and he wanted to be reborn, He could only turn into a ghost through the resurrection technique and find someone else's body to possess. In the human consciousness, ghosts were the embodiment of evil. Moreover, if he possessed someone else's body, wouldn't it be equivalent to taking away their life? While he was hesitating, Lin Yu's soul had become fainter and fainter. All that was left was a phantom. The voice in his ears was also becoming clearer. Lin Yu gritted his teeth. Looking at the corpses that were being pushed into the cremation hall, he suddenly had an idea. If dead people couldn't do it, then the living dead should work, right? A few minutes later, Lin Yu arrived at the largest vegetative care center in Shanghai City. Many vegetative people had no consciousness and would never wake up. They were only alive with their bodies. Lin Yu believed that if he chose this kind of person to possess, it wouldn't be considered as killing. Xian 81 Chinese Web Update Computer // at first. Lin Yu went through ward by ward to find a suitable body. However, he realized that his consciousness was fading and would soon disappear. The call from hell was also getting more and more urgent. Lin Yu didn't have time to think. He targeted a male vegetative person in his 20s and chanted the resurrection technique. Suddenly, he turned into a wisp of white smoke and rushed into the body without any regard for his own safety. You can't escape. At the same time, the call in his ears suddenly turned into a shrill scream. Then, Lin Yu lost all consciousness. When Lin Yu woke up, he only felt that the strong light was blinding. It took a moment for him to adjust. He lowered his head and saw that he was lying in the ward. Success! Lin Yu was so excited that he almost screamed. He sat up abruptly and looked at his new body. He couldn't wait to tear off the needle in his hand. Then he jumped off the bed. However, as soon as his feet touched the ground, his body staggered and fell to the ground. Perhaps because he had been lying down for a long time, the young man's muscles were slightly atrophied. Lin Yu staggered up and looked at the calendar on the wall. He realized that it was already the next day. He touched the bed and the wall and felt the cold temperature from his hands. He felt like he was in a dream. He just died yesterday and didn't expect to be resurrected today. He moved a little and got used to his new body. Then, he rushed out of the hospital impatiently. There was only one thing in his mind, and that was to see his mother. At this time, the bun shop was crowded with people. More than a dozen gangsters were clamoring for Lin Yu's mother to return the money. In order to perform the surgery for Lin Yu's mother was forced to borrow more than 100,000 yuan from loan sharks. Knowing that Lin Yu was dead, the gangsters couldn't wait to collect the debt. Don't worry, I'll sell the shop in a few days. I'll return the money to you when I get it. Please leave first. Lin Yu's mother begged with red and swollen eyes. She hoped that they could send him away as soon as possible. Her son had just passed away, and she didn't want him to leave in peace. F***CK. How much is your rundown shop worth? Your son is dead. Once we leave, who will we ask for money if you run away? The leading gangster with yellow hair cursed. Don't worry, I won't run away. I'll return the money to you as soon as I get it. No, we have to get the money today, no matter what. The yellow-haired gangster didn't give up. But I really don't have any money now. You also know that I spent all my money to treat my son. Lin Yu's mother felt like her heart was being cut by a knife. There was a trace of pleading in her hoarse voice. It's okay if you don't have money. How about this? You transfer the ownership of your rundown house to us. Consider it as paying off the debt. The yellow-haired gangster rolled his eyes and said his real purpose. Lin Yu's mother was slightly stunned. The house was left by Lin Yu's grandfather. Although it was a little old, it was in a good location. According to the current housing price in Shanghai, it could be sold for at least 2 or 3 million yuan. They were simply robbing her. But now that her son was dead, her home was gone. What was the point of keeping the house? She could leave with peace of mind after paying off the debt. Thinking of this, Lin Yu's mother nodded in despair. Just when she was about to agree, an angry shout came from outside the door. No, our house is worth at least a few million yuan. You're robbing us. Then, Lin Yu rode his new body and rushed in. F***CKU. Where did this bastard come from? It's none of your business. The yellow-haired gangster was so angry that he thought Lin Yu was a lunatic when he saw the hospital gown on him. He rushed over and raised his hand to slap Lin Yu. Lin Yu dodged subconsciously and pushed the yellow-haired gangster. The yellow-haired gangster flew out for 5 or 6 meters. He drew an arc in the air and fell on the table inside with a bang. "Kill him for me." The yellow-haired gangster covered his chest and screamed twice. Then, he gave an order. More than 10 gangsters rushed up immediately and surrounded Lin Yu, punching and kicking him. Lin Yu quickly raised his hand to fight back. Then, there was a wail in the bun shop. The gangsters kept screaming. More than 10 gangsters attacked together, but they couldn't even touch the corner of Lin Yu's clothes. Lin Yu's punches and kicks hit them as if they were hit by a car. They were in so much pain that they couldn't get up with one punch. Lin Yu was also shocked. It was said that a person possessed by a ghost was extremely strong. He didn't expect it to be true. Moreover, these gangsters' movements were very slow in his eyes. They were easy to dodge. "Call the police. Call the police." The yellow-haired gangster was frightened by the scene in front of him. He had seen people who were good at fighting, but he had never seen anyone who was so good at fighting. Hearing that they were going to call the police, Lin Yu's mother rushed over and grabbed Lin Yu's hand. She said anxiously, "Young man, they're going to call the police. Hurry up and leave. I will handle this." "Mom, what are you talking about? How can I leave you alone?" Lin Yu was so happy that he was about to cry. It was great that he was still alive and could see his mother. Hearing how he addressed her, his mother was slightly stunned. She looked at him blankly. Looking at his mother's eyes, Lin Yu suddenly realized that he was alive, but in a different body. His mother didn't recognize him at all. "I'm sorry, Annie. I thought of my mother when I saw you, so I couldn't help but blurt it out. Please don't mind." Lin Yu was afraid that his mother would be frightened by his real identity, so he quickly made up a lie. "It's okay, young man. Hurry up and leave. We can't implicate you in our family's affairs," Lin Yu's mother said while pushing him out. Lin Yu didn't answer. He picked up the chopsticks on the table and threw them at the yellow-haired gangster. With a bang, the chopsticks nailed the phone that the yellow-haired gangster had just pressed 110 to the wall. The yellow-haired gangster was so scared that his face turned pale. The chopsticks on the wall were only 1 centimeter away from his ear. If there was a slight deviation, it would be his head that was nailed to the wall. "Help! Murder! Help!" The yellow-haired gangster was so scared that he screamed. His voice was full of grievance. They owed him money first. "Stop yelling. I will pay the money for Annie Chin," Lin Yu said coldly. Since he was resurrected, he should be the one to pay the debt. "Young man, how can you do that? This is the first time we met. How can I let you pay the money for me?" Lin Yu's mother looked at Lin Yu with some doubts. She didn't know why, but this young man gave her a feeling of déjà vu. She wasn't surprised that Lin Yu knew her surname. Many netizens knew that her son had sacrificed his life for a just cause. Her name and contact information were also exposed. Many kind-hearted people wanted to send her son off, but she rejected them all. "Okay, that's what you said. Then give us the money." The yellow-haired gangster didn't care why Lin Yu was paying the money for others. As long as he got the money, his mission was completed. "Give me 3 days, Lin Yu said. The yellow-haired gangster was speechless. Lin Yu was so arrogant that he thought he could take out the money immediately. "Why? You don't believe me?" Lin Yu frowned when he saw that the yellow-haired gangster didn't speak. His tone was a little cold. "I believe you. I believe you. But, big brother, you have to tell me your name, right?" Looking at Lin Yu's cold eyes, the yellow-haired gangster couldn't help but shiver. "Name? Yes, he left in a hurry this morning. He didn't even have time to see this person's name. Don't worry, I will do what I promised you. How about this? 3 days later, still here, just come over. I will pay you back with interest." The reason why Lin Yu was so confident was all because of his body. He thought that since he could live in the nursery center, no matter how ordinary this young man's family was, he could at least take out 100 or 200,000 yuan. He would use it first and return it when he made money. After seeing Lin Yu's skills, the yellow-haired gangster didn't dare to say anything more. Just as he was about to nod and agree, he suddenly looked outside the store in a daze, as if he was attracted by something. Lin Yu also looked outside curiously. He saw a red BMW X5 at the door. As soon as the door opened, a pair of fair and slender legs stepped out. Then, a tall beauty in a white bohemian dress got out of the car. /book/18/18289 / the beauty in the long dress stroked her long black hair and took off her sunglasses. Her fair skin and delicate face were simply amazing. The yellow-haired gangster and his gang were stunned. Lin Yu couldn't help but be attracted. This beauty's appearance and temperament were indeed superb. The beauty in the long dress looked up at the bun shop, frowned slightly, and then walked in quickly. /book/18/18289 / beauty. Do you want to buy some buns? What kind of fillings do you want? Lin Yu couldn't help but blurt out. In the past, he used to help his mother sell buns, so it had become a conditioned reflex when he saw people. What did you call me? The beauty in the long dress glanced at him coldly and said in a displeased tone, Beauty. Lin Yu felt that there was no problem with the way he called her, but he couldn't help but feel a little confused. It was the first time that he had seen someone who didn't want to listen to him when he called her a beauty. The beauty in the long dress looked at him and said coldly, Well, He Jiarong, you have been in a coma for 2 months. You don't even recognize your wife. /book/18/18289 / try to read the content. Chapter 1297. The tranquil primal chaos ruins suddenly exploded with a loud noise, shaking the vast world. The momentum was too vast. The sound waves from the light radiation had already shaken millions of miles away. The scene caused all living beings to tremble. They really felt as if the heavens were collapsing and the end of the universe had arrived. That is, in a short period of time, the powerful experts of various races woke up. Their expressions changed as they gazed at their destination, the primal chaos pagoda. The experts were endlessly shocked. The commotion was caused by the primal chaos pagoda. The pagoda was shaking, and the process was truly frightening. It was as if the pagoda was about to explode. The energy fluctuations it emitted were quite shocking. Could it be that the universe's environment is about to return? It must be so. Haha, Su Xianren is finished. He can't stop the universe's origin from returning. The most terrifying golden age is about to arrive. Suyin, oh Suyin, what's the point of holding on for 10 years? You'll still have to face your final death. You might as well have gone on your way earlier. That way, you could have left behind a heroic name. But now that your infamy has spread far and wide, who will remember you in the future? The vast primal chaos land continuously shook. Everyone knew that the primal chaos pagoda was suppressing the mysterious yellow origin. Su Yin had blocked the primal chaos pagoda and cut off the universe's environment from returning. Now the energy of the entire world had dried up. The age of chaos had truly arrived. Too many sacred lands had been destroyed overnight. The problem was too serious. So much so that many cultivators found it difficult to progress in these years. All of this responsibility fell on Su Yan's head. Now, the primal chaos pagoda was rebelling and the endless universe's origin was flowing. They believed that the time for the environment to return had arrived. When the time came, the exhausted divine energy between heaven and earth would erupt. The universe's cultivation environment would definitely be many times better than before. Too many creatures were cheering. They were welcoming what they believed to be a beautiful era, especially the sealed heaven region. This life-forbidden zone was filled with sinister laughter. They were looking forward to the scene of Su Yin being reduced to a pig or a dog at the mercy of others. Moreover, the taboo overlord of this race had already declared that he wanted to take Su Yin as a slave. If the invincible Su Xianren became a slave of the sealed heaven region, the Tao protectors would burst with joy and laughter. Stupid insect, what's the use of blocking the environment from returning for 10 years? The overlord of the sealed heaven region was awakened from his deep slumber. His expression was full of disdain. Want to break through the taboo? It was impossible. Even if their descendants wanted to break through to the immortal realm, they didn't have any hope. This trial was too difficult. He had experienced it before, so he naturally knew that. As for breaking through on his own, he didn't even dare to think about it. Even in the prehistoric times, those who could be bestowed the title of undying overlord in the most glorious orthodoxy were as rare as phoenix feathers and Sheelan horns. A rising star from a broken universe dared to dream of stepping into the immortal realm on his own? Aren't you afraid of being laughed at if this news gets out? Winds and clouds surged in the universe as the Chaos Pagoda erupted. The commotion emitted by the Chaos Pagoda was world-shaking. It swept through the vast cultivation world and shocked the entire world. There were also some who were terrified. The best era was about to arrive. So what exactly was going to happen? Most people believed that this was a good thing. If it wasn't for Su Yin, the best era would have arrived. Although the situation of the universe would be reversed, it didn't have much to do with them. They could even gain benefits. After all, the environment would return to normal. Cultivation would be easier, and they could climb higher and gain more lifespan. If the universe was allowed to enter the age of chaos, there would be no more cultivators in the world. Then the entire cultivation world would be completely finished. However, what the world didn't know was that this was caused by Su Yan's initiative. He wanted to borrow the endless pressure to bear the weight of the mysterious yellow and resist the suppression of the entire universe. In this desperate situation, he broke through the barrier. Step into the immortal realm. Stop. You'll die. The purple-robed woman's expression changed. Su Yan was too decisive. He didn't hesitate at all and chose the most difficult path. A powerful immortal. It was difficult to withstand this kind of suppression. How could Su Yan do it? Although his physique was special and close to the mysterious yellow origin, the risk he had to bear was less. But this time, he had to bear the risk of death. I have made up my mind. I also have a certain degree of confidence. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done this. Su Yan roared. His entire body ignited, igniting Su Yan's madness. The awakening of his terrifying physical body was like the explosion of an indestructible sun. However, in the face of the suppression of the vast and boundless origin of the universe, Su Yan appeared extremely small and insignificant. In a face-to-face confrontation, his body seemed to explode, about to be crushed into a bloody light. Only Su Yan could understand how terrifying all of this was. A powerful supreme being was suffocating and trembling. This was many times crueler than encountering the suppression of an immortal. It was equivalent to the universe's strongest storm. The storm of light could tear Su Yan's body apart. In fact, Su Yan had a trump card. It was the Celestial Emperor's war banner. If he really couldn't withstand it, he could use the Celestial Emperor's war banner to block the calamity. He had hope of surviving. Now, there was no road and no time. Su Yan could only use the most dangerous method to try. The two were about to collide. Su Yan's body and heart were about to shatter, beyond redemption. I really am going to die. The supreme beings withered away, the supreme beings of the mortal Tao about to be crushed to pieces. The universe's source's complete suppression really couldn't hold on. Su Yan's soul was about to scatter. Su Yan was scared. He wanted to activate the Celestial Emperor's war banner to resist. But in that instant, he stabilized. He didn't die yet. He could still hold on. Life and death interweaved. Su Yan's body erupted with flames, crazily igniting. He wanted to force out the most powerful potential, resist the destruction. He wanted to live, rely on the undying energy to exist for a long time. Su Yan roared. He deeply grasped the mysterious power surging within his body. When Su Yan's body was about to collapse, it was strengthening, blooming, about to blossom into an undying flower bud, write a glorious legend. He sensed it. This was undying matter surging. It was extremely clear, much clearer than what he sensed in the past. There was a type of power surging within his body. It was a type of supreme treasure, about to blossom along with Su Yan's body's collapse. This was a type of undying energy, a type of energy that was almost inextinguishable. It belonged to the human body's most terrifying potential. From the peak of the mortal Tao, crossing over to a brand new world, becoming undying. This was also the most shocking obstacle in the cultivation realm. Once one crossed it, they could be called an Overlord expert. No matter where they were, they couldn't be underestimated. Even if there really was a higher realm than the undying, then the undying realm was still an Overlord among experts. I caught it. Su Yan's eyes were brimming with tears of excitement. He finally grasped the source of this power. It was especially powerful, about to drill out of his body. Quickly stop. A voice transmitted over, carrying anxiety. You will die soon. So what if you figure it out? When you die, everything will be for naught. I won't die. A low voice exploded. It was so resolute and decisive. The following changes caused the purple-clothed woman's beautiful face to pale. Su Yan's blood-stained body blazed, and his frontal bone became even more resplendent, surging with exuberant soul chi. It was as if an ancient deity was returning. The purple-clothed woman's hair was as white as snow. At this moment, she was deeply shaken. Su Yan's primordial spirit was the first to awaken. During these years, Su Yan had suffered countless life and death tortures, experiencing the cruelest tempering. Originally, his primordial spirit was already infinitely close to the forbidden realm. Now that Su Yan had grasped the source of undying, it caused his primordial spirit to be the first to undergo a transformation. Boom! In Su Yan's frontal bone, a small golden figure shone, a wisp of white mist coiling around its body. Su Yan's primordial spirit had a solemn appearance, as if it was a second Su Yan with a body of flesh and blood. In fact, this body of flesh and blood was a kind of undying substance. Now, his primordial spirit had skyrocketed with boundless divine might. The small golden figure was growing taller and bigger, and soon, its aura swallowed the river of time, filled with an indestructible aura. It was reaching the undying realm here. How is this possible? How did his primordial spirit suddenly break through to the level of undying primordial spirit? The purple-clothed woman was frightened. It was too difficult to break through the primordial spirit, but Su Yan had done it in advance. She couldn't be wrong. The undying substance in Su Yan's primordial spirit was surging, causing his primordial spirit's soul chi to skyrocket. It was as if a colossus was born. If a group of almighty beings were here, their primordial spirits would have been shattered by Su Yan's primordial spirit power, and they would have died. Even Su Yan discovered that his primordial spirit surged with tenfold combat strength. It was hard to believe that the primordial spirit's breakthrough would have such great benefits. It began to soar exponentially, almost like an immortal spirit breaking out of its shell, erupting with overflowing divine light that illuminated the universe. It was boundlessly powerful. Roar! Suddenly, Su Yan's primordial spirit, which was sitting cross-legged, suddenly raised its head. From this moment on, Su Yan's primordial spirit erupted. It stretched its limbs as if it had slept for eternity. The moment it woke up, it emitted a sound that shook heaven and earth, as if it was roaring the 6 paths of reincarnation. The legendary undying creature was born. The golden primordial spirit shone with millions of strands of divine light, and its divine might was vast and immeasurable. A world in a grain of sand, a Bodhi in a leaf. Su Yan opened his mouth, his voice grand and thunderous. If I don't enter hell, who will? His primordial spirit was released, infinitely huge, filling the heavens as if it was living in the future, overlooking the land of chaos. He sat cross-legged between heaven and earth, and around him, 3,000 true Buddha phantoms appeared, accompanied by Su Yan's chanting. He was like a Buddha sitting cross-legged in the future, his voice grand. It covered time and space. Has this guy comprehended and become a Buddha? The purple-robed woman wanted to laugh, but she couldn't. She couldn't figure out why his primordial spirit was the first to break through. Could it be that Su Yan had encountered some kind of opportunity? One had to know that even if one really stepped into the immortal realm, it wouldn't be completed in a short time. It would require a very long gestation period. However, Su Yan had crossed over in advance, saving him many years of precious time. In fact, this had a lot to do with the white fog. Now, Su Yan's primordial spirit was too powerful. It sat cross-legged in the future, overlooking the past, guarding heaven and earth. When he smiled, heaven and earth would lose their color, as if Su Yan's smile was changing. His primordial spirit filled heaven and earth, flowing with exuberant divine power. However, the Buddha Lord quickly turned into a great Tao Lord. This was the birth of killing, representing Su Yan's life. Blade light and sword shadows, incomparably bloody and glorious. Immortal realm. It was really too powerful. Su Yan's primordial spirit was more than 10 times stronger than before. Even his flesh shell was glowing, overflowing with immortal radiance, as if he was about to soar into the ranks of the immortal overlords. Chapter 1298. A grain of sand, a world, a leaf, a bodhi. The supreme profound of the Sutra of Future had been thoroughly comprehended by Su Yan, causing his primordial spirit to transform. Sometimes it was as small as a speck of dust. Sometimes it was as large as a starry sky. When the primordial spirit body derived the immortal substance, Su Yan's primordial spirit surged with boundless divine might. There was also an immortal aura surging within it. New August 1st Chinese network at this moment. Su Yan had a deeper understanding of immortality. The transformation of his primordial spirit had increased Su Yan's perception by more than 10 times. This was a terrifying increase. In the past, it would take 10 days to half a month to comprehend a supernatural power. But now he could grasp the purest profound in an instant. This was the benefit of a powerful primordial spirit. Moreover, Su Yan's primordial spirit had broken through the limits of life and entered the ranks of immortal, forming an immortal primordial spirit. This was very important. Su Yan's terrifying perception and super powerful probing ability allowed him to capture the mysterious substance that was hibernating in the depths of his body. That was the strongest treasure of the human body, the immortal treasure. Aha! The blood-stained figure sat cross-legged at the end of the tunnel, facing the sky and laughing. Despite facing the bombardment of the endless source sea and the collision of billions of roars, Su Yan's expression didn't change. He wore a confident smile. This guy can actually defy the heavens and step into the immortal realm first. The purple-robed woman was also shocked. She had stepped into the immortal realm many years ago before her primordial spirit completed its transformation. Moreover, the process wasn't easy. She even discovered that Su Yan's primordial spirit was exceptionally powerful, as if it was an innate talent. In fact, this was the nourishing effect of the white mist. Now that he was facing death, Su Yan's primordial spirit treasure had also been opened. This was truly a joke of fate. Now that his primordial spirit had stepped into the immortal realm, would it be difficult for his body to cultivate? It would definitely be smooth. Once Su Yan excavated the immortal force in his body, he would become a legendary immortal overlord. Of course, the most important thing was that it was too difficult to rely on oneself to break through. Even the peerless Ingjia from the prehistoric era might not be able to reach this step, especially in the current environment of the universe. Su Yan had indeed created a miracle. When the news spread, even the immortal realm giants who were sleeping in various regions couldn't believe it. Under such circumstances and conditions, there was really someone who could defy the natural order and break through to the immortal realm. If this fellow survives the calamity in the future, he'll definitely achieve great things in the future. With his potential, even if he's in the extraterritorial space-time, all the supreme Taoism orthodoxies will fight to recruit him. The purple-clothed woman was a bit envious of Su Yan. He had relied on his own strength to break through the limits of life. Moreover, this was in a situation where he didn't have much experience. This was a shocking feat. If this were to spread out, it would definitely shake the world. Su Yan sat cross-legged in the tunnel. His blood-stained body glowed, looking solemn and dignified. The immortal god treasure in the depths of his body finally began to surge. Although it was extremely slow, with Su Yan's immortal primordial spirit, he was barely able to cause this energy to surge. As long as he focused on cultivation and excavated the immortal god treasure, Su Yan would become an overlord in the immortal realm. Now The violently rioting black-yellow origin was still colliding with the shadow, blocking the tunnel. Again and again, the huge tunnel began to dim. This ancient tunnel was about to collapse. If Su Yan's primordial spirit wasn't exceptionally strong and was able to resist the energy of the origin, Su Yan's body would really be crushed. Hurry up and stabilize the rioting origin of the universe. The purple-clothed woman shouted in a low voice. She found that the rioting of the origin of the universe was getting more and more intense. If this continued, even if Su Yan stepped into the immortal realm, he wouldn't be able to stop the origin from flowing back into the universe. Buzz! Su Yan's primordial spirit returned to his body. His whole body shone with divine light. His pupils suddenly opened. Moreover, his physique was reviving. He tried to stabilize the raging origin. However, Su Yan found that it was difficult to control the origin's energy. It seemed that the ancient universe was shining with a will. The life of the universe had reached the limit and was about to die of old age. If the origin didn't nurture it, perhaps the black-yellow universe would completely collapse. This is bad. The purple-clothed woman's face changed. Su Yan tried many times to stabilize the origin, but he failed. Could it be that time had reached the limit and the origin of the universe had no choice but to return? The matter was urgent. Once the universe couldn't bear it, it would become an empty shell. The entire universe would collapse, and all life in the universe would be buried with it. Even if the origin of the universe suddenly returned, it would be difficult to restore the collapsed universe's space-time. If he tried to stop it by force, he would really become the universe's sinner. It's too late. The origin of the universe is returning. Su Yan clenched his fists and said in a low voice, I can't stop it. I can capture the state of the universe. If the origin doesn't return, the universe will completely collapse. At that time, I will be the universe's sinner. Everything will be in vain. Even you and I won't be able to survive. The purple-clothed woman with snow-white hair carried a sword embryo on her back. Her whole body was surging with great divine might, like a real fairy. She shouted coldly, Hurry up and go back to your tribe. Try to break through to the immortal realm as soon as possible. No matter what happens in the future, don't stand out. Hearing this, Su Yan shook his head. He stood up at the end of the tunnel and said indifferently, Although I can excavate the treasures in my body and step into the immortal realm, I estimate that it will take at least 10 years. 10 years. The purple-clothed woman's emotions were in turmoil. It was too long. They couldn't wait that long. Su Yan didn't have the time to wait either. Not to mention 10 years. Even a few short months or a few days would cause unimaginable changes. This was too cruel. An existence who was about to become an immortal overlord had the power to change things in the future, but no one could give him 10 years. Boom! The Chaos Tower's trembling speed increased, attracting the attention of all the experts in the world. Countless creatures were looking forward to the return of the universe's environment. After all, the universe's ecological environment was already very bad. If this continued, they were worried that the life of the entire universe would dry up or even collapse. When that time came, who would be able to survive? Sinner Su Yan, hurry up and open the origin tunnel. Some people couldn't control themselves and shouted, It doesn't matter if you die, but don't implicate others. Look at what the universe has become. Do you want to see the universe dry up completely? Many people agreed with these words and nodded. The universe's environment was getting worse. If they didn't think of a way to remedy it, the cultivation world would cease to exist. However, what the world didn't expect was that the Chaos Tower trembled violently. Following that, a huge hole appeared on the body of the Chaos Tower. The scene was too sudden. The black hole was so deep that it was impossible to see the bottom. It was so big that it was difficult to see how deep it was. Quickly look. All the experts in the world were shocked. What was supposed to come had finally come. This was the ancient and extremely majestic origin energy. It surged out from the hole in the Chaos Tower. Boom! The entire universe was trembling as if it had gained life and was beginning to revive. Within the Chaos Tower, the universe's origin energy had begun to roar out billions of times, erupting with the most terrifying storm of this era, engulfing the entire chaos ruins. In an instant, the ancient chaos ruins rapidly expanded. In a short few breaths of time, the chaos ruins changed. Heaven and earth became countless times more majestic. If it was a pond before, then now it was a vast ocean, majestic to the extreme. This scene caused a sensation in the world. Tens of thousands of sects were in an uproar. The entire chaos ruins were boiling. The footsteps of history had arrived, and no one could stop it. The chaos ruins upheaval was countless times faster than 10 years ago. The hungry universe was nourished, accompanied by the rich aura of the prehistoric environment, crushing over. It's here, this day has come. Countless creatures cheered and shouted excitedly. They could sense that the entire universe was changing. Even the exhausted energy of the major regions had begun to recover. It was definitely the origin energy that was nurturing the aging universe, allowing it to shine with endless vitality. It's finally here. Countless people looked up to the sky and laughed, greedily absorbing the exuberant energy between heaven and earth. They shouted crazily. If that's the case, the universe is evolving, and everyone will benefit. The return of the universe's origin ignited the madness of this era. Too many cultivators allowed the exuberant divine energy of heaven and earth. They even realized that the great Tao of heaven and earth was clearer and the world was broader. This also meant that their cultivation path would go further. One had to know that in the prehistoric world, it was extremely easy for supreme experts to leave. However, in the current space-time, it was really quite difficult to cultivate to the supreme realm. Many half-step supreme experts had grasped their path and were wild with excitement. Indeed, everyone would benefit, and their strength would skyrocket. That's right, everyone will benefit. There was also a burst of sinister laughter. A peak tribe was releasing its resentment and anger. The protector of the sealed heaven region roared, but there's only one person and one tribe. If he wants to destroy the entire tribe, he'll stop the evolution of the universe for 10 years. Su Xianren, you won't be able to redeem yourself, even if you die 100 times. In the direction of the sealed heaven region, the Overlord's aura that had been dormant for 10 years awakened once again. The forbidden Overlord opened up the space-time of heaven and earth. His aura swallowed the great regions, and his vast aura surged, causing the entire starry sky to tremble. The legendary creature was resurrected. The Overlord that had been suppressed by the universe for millions of years had returned to the world. The myriad races were still horrified. Although the best era had arrived, the era of immortals had also arrived. However, 99% of the living beings did not care. They felt that it had nothing to do with them. The survival of Su Xianren and the buried region had nothing to do with them. Boom! The Overlord that had been sleeping for 1,000,000 years was resurrected. He greedily devoured the energy between heaven and earth. Xian 81 Chinese network updated the fastest. Computer, // moreover, his ancient body was steaming with devouring energy. As he spat it out, the vast space-time seemed to collapse and surged toward the forbidden Overlord's ancient body. What was he doing? He was recovering. He was using heaven and earth as nourishment to recover his losses. However, the forbidden Overlord's recovery speed was too freakish. This creature was high and mighty. He regarded billions of living beings as ants. In the process of him devouring the divine power of heaven and earth, countless living beings died tragically. Their bodies exploded and turned into pure qi and blood that flowed into his ancient body. However, this was not enough. It was far from enough for an Overlord whose foundation had been greatly damaged to recover his peak combat strength. From this moment onwards, the joy of the world disappeared. It was replaced by fear. A devil master devoured the world. He used heaven and earth, living beings, and all living beings as nourishment to recover his losses over the long years. As a result, one great region after another was devoid of life, and corpses piled up like mountains. No, even the divine king was in despair. He was as insignificant as an ant. No matter how hard they struggled, it was futile. The deity king's body exploded, spewing out pure deity king blood essence that flowed into the Overlord's body. But to the Overlord, the deity king's blood essence was just a drop in the ocean. Everyone was scared stiff. This was not a beautiful era, but a nightmare. 10 years is too long. The purple-clothed woman stood in the Chaos Tower. She said bitterly, "Next will be the era of the immortal realm experts wreaking havoc on the world. Countless living beings will die. Suyin, you should leave. There's still hope if you live." "I can't wait 10 years. Su's black hair danced wildly. His battle aura surged. His powerful aura surged in all directions. The purple-clothed woman understood Su Yan's intention. He wanted to fight with an immortal realm expert to prove his Overlord Dao. This was a cruel and almost impossible path. However, Su Yan wanted to try it. This was too crazy. Chapter 1299. A new era had arrived. The cosmos was a boiling cauldron of voices and cheers. Even the older generation was dancing with joy. After all, the new era concerned everyone's interests. Who wouldn't be excited? The cosmos was evolving, and even they would be affected. Perhaps their realms would advance by leaps and bounds. The primal chaos ruins had already expanded to the extreme, but this was just the beginning. The cosmos was still extremely empty. A certain amount of time was needed for the origin energy and the cosmos to merge. However, although this was just the beginning, the withered vitality of the various realms had already begun to revive. Very soon, a majestic tide of life surged forth, nurturing the mountains, rivers, and earth, creating countless holy lands. The origin energy emitted by the primal chaos pagoda nurtured all living things, nourishing the weakened space-time of the world. The energy of the various realms soared by at least 10 times, and the heavenly treasures nurtured by the heaven and earth began to grow wildly. The terrifying changes were truly shocking. This was just the beginning. If the evolution was completed, the cosmos would increase by at least 100 times. The prehistoric world was truly abnormal. Now that the cosmos had evolved to such a degree, it meant that the most powerful cultivation environment had arrived. In the vast primal chaos ruins, purple clouds surged and the sound of the great Tao resounded. This was a beautiful day, one that many people had yearned for 10 years. However, when this day arrived, it was also the day of bloodshed and disaster. Boom! In a corner of the primal chaos ruins, the heaven and earth were dark red. The auspicious atmosphere was completely gone. A vast aura surged forth, shaking the heavens and earth. It was as if the sea of stars was collapsing. The aura was terrifying. What astonishing energy! In the primal chaos ruins, a few supreme experts were frightened. This power was quite astonishing and had far-reaching effects. Very soon, some experts sensed that a colossus had awakened. Its aura was ancient and dignified, as if an ancient creature had awakened from its slumber. A forbidden expert. The sky bamboo expert's voice was trembling. This day had finally arrived. He didn't know if it was good or bad for the cosmos. The Overlord of the sealed heaven region had awakened. He looked down on the universe with a pair of eyes full of coldness, viewing billions of creatures as ants. His ancient life force was radiating, and his body that had been slumbering for millions of years was awakened. However, it was still very weak and declining. Even after 10 years of recovery, it still didn't have 50% of its peak strength. Roar! This made the Overlord unhappy. He let out a low roar that shook the heavens and earth. The mountains and seas roared, the sun and moon fell, and the new world walked towards death. A bloody calamity was born. The heaven-sealing hegemon soared through the air, his ancient body transforming into a huge vortex that devoured heaven and earth. Even space and time collapsed, turning into pure energy that surged towards heaven, sealing Overlord's body, nourishing him for the long years he had lost. Great changes also took place in one large region after another. The energy rising from the heavens and earth rapidly dried up. And the process was extremely fast. All creatures in the cosmos almost instantly died of old age, deprived of their source of life. Even celestial gods couldn't last more than a few breaths of time. Large amounts of their lifeblood essences were devoured and floated into the sky, sealing Overlord's flesh shell. On, dress. Large amounts of divine kings died. Their life force withered away, their eyes filled with fear and despair. Look over there. In a distant world, many people lost control and shouted. The Overlord that lived in legends stole the fortune of the heavens and earth, the life force of all living things. Everything was turned into life force to recover his withered body. A bloody storm spread, the heavens and earth wailed, and all living things dimmed. What is the taboo Overlord doing? The joy in the hearts of too many races disappeared, replaced by fear. They saw the taboo Overlord wreaking havoc in the world. Everything in the world became sacrifices. Everything in the space-time around the taboo Overlord began to burn, turning into pure energy to recover an immortal expert who had suffered great losses. Bastard! A loud roar exploded. In the world covered in bloody light, a powerful expert went crazy, trying to resist the taboo Overlord's devouring power. However, it was useless. Even he was being destroyed. The powerful expert couldn't stop the calamity at all, nor could he protect his race. He could only watch as his race turned into a land of death. Hence, he roared in grief and was about to go crazy. His children, his descendants, and millions of his race were all dead. Bastard, what are you doing? You bastard! The powerful expert let out a heart-wrenching cry. He was powerless and even wanted to escape from the chaos ruins to avoid the calamity. However, just as he rushed out of the bloody world, an ancient hand stretched out, covering the sky. It could easily create a universe in the palm. The powerful expert couldn't even withstand a single blow from the immortal's palm. The powerful expert let out a cry of despair. He couldn't live at all. The vigorous source of life in his body was once again plundered by the immortal Overlord, becoming his nourishment. Taboo Overlord, you bastard! You feed on the heavens and earth and use all living things as sacrifices. You're worse than a beast. You're not even as humane as a dog I raised. The powerful expert roared and cursed. The truth was too cruel and unbearable. His voice exploded, echoing in the chaos ruins, roaring out the endless hatred in his heart. But what was the use? The powerful expert's body collapsed, and the energy that flowed out gathered in the taboo Overlord's body, feeding on the heavens and earth. Too many people were terrified. They trembled, and their legs wouldn't listen to them. Something big is about to happen. The taboo Overlord is feeding on the heavens and earth to recover. Why is this happening? Aren't they afraid of being punished by the heavens? Is this the legendary creature, the taboo Overlord? It ignores all laws. Who could stop it? Countless people ran for their lives, wanting to leave the chaos ruins to avoid the calamity. However, the taboo Overlord was too strong. His body was steaming with ancient blood. He had tasted the sweetness. If he was allowed to recover like this, he would be able to recover to his peak state in a few days. Actually, the taboo Overlord was also taking revenge on the universe. He had been suppressed by the universe for millions of years. Now, he wanted to take revenge. Boom! In an instant, he crossed the ruined mountains and rivers and flew into a perfect world, overlooking millions of lives. One of the cities collapsed under the influence of the taboo Overlord's aura. Millions of lives were crushed, and the strongest group of people in the city fell. Vigorous vitality flowed out and rushed into the taboo Overlord's ancient body. Too weak. The taboo Overlord was very dissatisfied. The Shenwang universe was once glorious. Now, the living beings in the universe are just food on my plate. They can't even withstand a single blow. His voice swept out, shaking tens of thousands of races. On this day, the entire chaos ruins were filled with ghosts crying and gods howling. Rivers of blood flowed, and mountains of corpses were piled up. The number of dead cultivators was immeasurable. The top experts were all fleeing. They were completely scared out of their wits. However, something even more terrifying happened. All the mighty figures in the chaos ruins were trembling in fear. In another distant space, a huge figure appeared. Although it was blurry, it was extremely majestic and glorious. Boom! The vast expanse collapsed, and billions of primal chaos surged. It was as if a primal chaos ancestor had appeared, emitting an ancient primal chaos Tao sound. The aura was too grand, and it was as if it could suppress the entire chaos ruins. Its aura spread across half the universe. In the vast primal chaos land, two huge figures soared up. They were both supreme beings. Billions of lives were like dust in front of them. They were not on the same level because they were undying. This day has finally come. The Chaos Valley Master opened his cold eyes. He had awakened. His figure was exceptionally tall, and billions of primal chaos air currents surrounded his body. At this moment, the two undying giants looked at each other vaguely. Their eyes were filled with cold light. Using the souls of the universe as a sacrifice is a good way to recover, the Chaos Valley Master muttered. He suddenly raised a withered hand and stretched it into the distance. This was the origin of a prosperous race. This top race had been passed down from one universe to another. Now the entire race was sounding the alarm. The defensive array was fully activated, and the race's space-time array was activated. They wanted to move the ancestral land away from the disaster land. However, it was useless. The withered hand collapsed everything in an instant. The entire ancestral land collapsed, and the top experts of the race died. The mighty figures did not even make a sound before their bodies exploded. You will suffer retribution. Some of the old men who were still alive roared at the sky with extreme hatred. The entire race was destroyed, and the survivors were a group of old men with one foot in the grave. Blood and tears flowed from their eyes. The ground was filled with corpses and blood. This group of old men was mad with hatred. Ignorant people, I am the heavens. I am the ruler of this universe. What retribution is there? The Chaos Valley Master said coldly. He had also tasted the sweetness of absorbing the life essence of the top races to recover his withered life. Then, he walked away and headed to his next destination. He did not care about these old men. What the Chaos Valley Master needed was fresh life, the essence of the dragon veins, and a large number of treasures to recover the losses over the years. Be it the Chaos Valley Master or Sealed Skies Overlord. Since they came out of seclusion, they had been recovering frantically. They were too weak and had to find ways to recover to their peak state. This was because they had more important things to do. However, before that, they had to find ways to recover their strength. Even if they had to kill billions of lives in the chaos ruins, they did not care. Moreover, if they relied on themselves to recover, with the extent of their losses, it would be difficult for them to recover to their peak state in a few decades. It might even take a few decades. This group of bastards, they all deserve to die. Within the Chaos Tower, the purple-clothed woman was furious. She had never imagined that they would use such cruel methods to recover their losses. Su Yan's fists crackled as he roared. I will slaughter the taboo and prove my path to becoming an overlord. He could not wait 10 years, not even a day. The bone books recorded that there had once been a powerhouse who had fought with an immortal and forced out the body's strongest treasure. Now, Su Yan was about to embark on this cruel path. At the same time, in the chaotic outerverse, an elderly man walked out of the Zhang village with a rusty woodchopper in his hand. He looked like a slumbering ancient dragon as he left the village and headed out into the universe. Chapter 1300. The entire primal chaos continued to descend into chaos. Blood rained down from the sky, and the universe seemed to be weeping. Everyone was in despair as the two hegemons casually harvested lives. This was a scene of a sea of blood, and it was as if they were going to kill everyone in the world. The universe trembled as a small portion of the vast primal chaos fell into chaos. The number of dead was incalculable, and the entire primal chaos was filled with cries of ghosts and deities. Bloody light covered the sun as it approached its end. Even the supreme powerhouses were terrified and wanted to attempt a breakthrough to see if they could survive. However, it was useless as the path of immortality was too difficult. The powerful Su Xianren had exhausted all of his natural treasures, but he still couldn't break through with his physical body. One could imagine how difficult this realm was. The universe's life forms were terrified and helpless. They could only wait for death, and many people were frightened. They were almost scared stiff. The sky had already collapsed, and who could withstand it? Su Xianren, where are you? Someone was weeping bitterly. These words were truly explosive. Many people burst into tears, but it was too late for regrets. Previously, they had thought that Su Yan was afraid of death and had obstructed the return of the universe because he was afraid that the taboo would target him. But this day had truly arrived, and the beautiful era they wanted had appeared. It was exceptionally cruel and bloody, and everyone was in danger. Now, they really wanted Su Yan to seal the universe once again and return it to its previous state. Being alive was much better than being dead, but what was the use of that? We can't escape. We can only wait for death. Where could they escape to? Even in the Outerverse, they had encountered a great calamity. Some starfields had exploded, and countless life forms had become sacrifices. Lowly races, it's your honor to be able to serve me. The ancestral hall master's divine might was matchless as it swept out in all directions. His entire body surged with terrifying ripples of the great Tao, annihilating all of the life forms in an entire starfield. Moreover, as he breathed, the sea of stars dried up, awakening his aging vitality. Although he had grasped an immortal medicine, it was too precious, and he couldn't bear to use it. The powerhouses of the ancestral hall were stunned, especially Zhu Tianba and the others. They had never thought that the hall master would be so savage as to feed on a starfield. Go and look for Su Yan. Once you find him, crush my message talisman. It's time for this little bug to return. The ancestral palace's palace master left to look for food. He wanted to recover in a short amount of time. The mission that should have been completed 1,000,000 years ago had been delayed until now. He had to destroy the Zong clan as soon as possible to get what he wanted. Zhu Tianba and the others were shocked. The hall master was still thinking about Su Yan. What was Su Yan hiding? Was it worth the temple master's unforgettable memory for the past several hundred years? Once, the hall master of the ancestral hall had discovered a substance in the heavenly refining furnace. This substance shocked the ancestral hall master. He felt that it was even more important than obtaining the secrets of the celestial court. Boom! In a distant world, a loud explosion rang out. Energy fluctuations were intense. This was the explosion of a terrifying starfield. The most powerful ancient star disintegrated, creating a boundless cosmos. Torrential corpse energy surged, as if a corpse immortal was coming back to life. The corpse blood sea appeared out of nowhere, crushing the entire blood domain. A generation of peak clans were wiped out. Millions and millions of creatures immediately fell, becoming sacrifices for the corpse blood sea's giants. Su Xianren, if you are still alive, get revenge for my clan. The Kuan King also fell. He was a young, great expert with boundless potential, but now he encountered a disaster. The entire blood domain collapsed, and all of the great experts died. The Kuan King roared. He hated this to the extreme, but he was powerless to change anything. In reality, the cosmos also released a world-shocking attack. An earth-shattering roar erupted, and countless stars exploded. Large swathes of galaxies were blasted apart. Shameful! An ancient roar exploded, causing countless living beings to panic. The creatures that stepped out from the corpse blood sea were targeting the undying beings. These were the undying beings of other powers. They had been sleeping in the starfield for 1,000,000 years. However, They were different from the Corpse Blood Sea and Ancestral Palace's Palace Master. Their losses were great, and they were currently hesitating whether or not they should be like them, hunting creatures to recover. In the end, they were attacked. Without a doubt, compared to sacrificing all life in the cosmos, it was definitely faster to recover than killing the weak, undying beings. They didn't feel any pity either. If they allowed them to recover, they would all become enemies in the future. After all, their ambitions were great, and no one could share it with outsiders. Perhaps in the end, all of the undying giants of the cosmos would fight to the death. Aged, undying beings died one after another, blasted apart by Ancestral Palace's Palace Master or Corpse Blood Sea's Master. Since they seized the opportunity to recover a portion of their strength, they definitely wouldn't allow more enemies of the same level to appear. The entire mysterious yellow cosmos was trembling. Too many people died, difficult to estimate. Large amounts of star fields were extinguished. Only when the sleeping overlords revived did they realize just how cruel this was. Who can save us? Lamentable. Even our world's most powerful experts couldn't stop the taboo's methods. Who can save us? I don't want to die, I want to live. Large amounts of experts knelt down and cried out in grief, hoping that Su Yin would appear in this world again. They wanted to reseal the cosmos so that the taboo would never appear again. To them, the legendary taboo was supreme, but now, in their hearts, it was a nightmare. They were a group of nightmares that destroyed everything in the cosmos. Will the Tao Palace be destroyed? In the chaos ruins, the entire Tao Palace was trembling. From a great distance away, a withered, chaotic hand reached over. It was boundlessly large and covered the entire territory covered by the Tao Palace. It wanted to smash it into ashes with a single slap. Chaos Valley Master had already caught it. The Tao Palace's vitality was exceptionally tenacious, and if he could take it down, it would definitely help him recover 10% of his combat strength. The experts in the Tao Palace couldn't do anything. Everything was useless. No matter how strong the defensive array was, it couldn't withstand the suppression of the taboo hand. The moment the boundless chaos hand came down, everyone felt their souls extinguish and destroyed. Boom! All of a sudden, a purple jade hand shot up into the sky, blocking the suppression of the primal chaos hand. Interesting. Chaos Valley Master's eyes were cold as he looked through the purple bamboo forest and saw a purple-robed woman with snow-white hair. He sneered, "You and I are on the same path. Why are you stopping me? This is not a place where you can behave atrociously." The purple-robed woman was furious, and the sword embryo on her back was unsheathed. "Ha ha ha!" Chaos Valley Master laughed out loud. "Very well. Since you've chosen to die, I'll take your life in the future." Chaos Valley Master left and didn't continue fighting. Although the purple-robed woman had suffered great losses, he could sense that her combat strength wasn't weak. If they continued fighting, he wouldn't gain any advantage and would even weaken further. Therefore, Chaos Valley Master left. He walked through the chaos ruins step by step and headed toward the Outerverse. His target wasn't the Tao Palace or any other power, but the Tomb clan in the Tomb region, an orthodoxy left behind by the ancient Celestial Court. The ancient Celestial Court was of great importance. It involved the secrets of Xuanhuang's evolution. The invasion of the extraterrestrial heroes during the prehistoric war was one of the greatest goals of the invaders. This was because this was once the most glorious celestial cosmos, and because of one person. It was glorious. Bastard. The purple-robed woman was furious, but she didn't have the strength to do so. This was because, like the Chaos Valley Master and the others, she had suffered great losses and couldn't display much of her combat strength. Even if she took action, she wouldn't be able to stop the Chaos Valley Master and the others, and it would even accelerate her own losses. The purple-robed woman couldn't be like them, killing all living beings in Xianhuang and using them as nourishment to recover her losses. Now, the Tao Palace's taboo was only protecting the Tao Palace's pure land. She couldn't care about anything else. If she really risked her life to stop the Chaos Valley Master, the Tao Palace would cease to exist. The Chaos Valley Master had left, but Sealed Skies Overlord was still endlessly demanding. The entire Tao Palace fell silent, but everyone clenched their fists, feeling endless shame. Plop! Kong Xian suddenly knelt on the ground and shouted at the purple-robed woman, "Temple Master, let us lowly beings retain our dignity." Countless old cultivators' eyes were bloodshot as they cried bitterly. Because of the destroyed families, there were too many of their families. They all knelt down and roared crazily at the purple bamboo forest. The atmosphere of the entire Tao Palace changed, and the infinite treasury opened, begging the purple-robed woman to use it to recover. The apocalypse had truly arrived. Resources, supreme treasures, and family assets were no longer important. Their lives were as cheap as paper, and only strength was king. Only then could they survive in this chaotic world. This scene made the purple-robed woman let out a long sigh. She needed time to recover and adapt to a new environment. It wasn't something that could be done in a few days. However, in a few days, she had to destroy many races' inheritances. Temple Master. Everyone in the Tao Palace knelt and kowtowed. The purple-robed woman no longer persisted, using the infinite treasury as the price to provide her with recovery. As long as she could stand up in a short period of time, she could still appear in future battles. Otherwise, how many lives could exist in the universe? This was the accumulation of the Tao Palace's millions of years of accumulation. It was comparable to the wealth of any race. The chaos ruins were filled with blood and chaos. One after another, large regions were reduced to dead regions, and the world entered a bloody era. The distant world was covered in a dark red expanse. Terrifying light blossomed, tearing apart the heavens and rushing towards the Chaos Pagoda. I've come to fulfill my promise." Sky's ceiling Overlord spoke, his pair of cold eyes gazing towards the Chaos Pagoda. Moreover, he was crossing time and space, crossing millions and millions of li with a single step. Along the way, he could similarly use bloody methods to destroy everything, turning all living things into sacrifices. Bloody light surged. A supreme existence crossed time and space, creating a scene of time and space collapsing. Along with it, the creatures of one region after another were crushed. All living things were in despair. There was nowhere to run. Everyone was going to die, and no one could live. Even the powerful Su Xianren couldn't stop him. However, an even more terrifying event occurred. A figure could vaguely be seen, piercing through the universe and devouring the river of time. Hong! A terrifying aura erupted, and millions of golden chi and blood surged. It tore apart the sky, full of bloody light, cutting off the path of time and space. That was a figure, his chi and blood golden. He was too astonishing, cutting off sky, sealing Overlord's path. His body burned with endless flames. This was a terrifying belief and fighting spirit. He wanted to fight against an undying being and prove his unrivaled great Tao. Chapter 1301. Similar incidents had happened before. Su Yin had stopped the evolution of the universe, and he had also indirectly stopped the birth of the forbidden Overlord. Su Yin had also been cursed because of this. Now, it was too late for the major families in the bloody chaos ruins to regret. They had never expected that the forbidden Overlord would do such a thing, using the blood sacrifice of all living beings to recover their losses. All living beings were in despair. The Overlords were wreaking havoc in the world. Who could keep them in check? But now, a similar incident had happened again. Someone had forcefully interrupted the space-time path and blocked the sealing skies Overlord's path. This scene shocked the entire world. Tens of thousands of races were in an uproar to the point of madness. Who was it that had blocked the sealing skies Overlord? Could it bring him hope? Who dare stop me? A cold and furious voice appeared, splitting the sky like lightning, suffused with flames of anger. The sealing skies Overlord, who had crossed the river of time and space, instantly surged with his aura. It was as if a demon had emerged from the abyss. His roar shook the entire space-time, causing the entire universe to tremble. Boom! The entire area evaporated. Energy fluctuations surged as it charged towards the figure, blocking his path. However, this expert who had attacked the Overlord also roared, his black hair dancing in the wind. It was as if a golden human emperor had descended into the mortal world, tearing apart the bloody light in the sky with overflowing dominance. Although that figure seemed a bit weak under the sealing sky's Overlord's divine might, he was extremely powerful and wild after being resurrected in the pinnacle realm. It's him. The entire chaos ruins were in an uproar. Countless people had tears in their eyes. It was a familiar person, Su Xianren. It's Su Yan, it's Su Xianren. They roared, their blood boiling. At this moment, Su Yan had truly become their backbone, an indispensable existence in the universe. Su Yan was like a human emperor descending into the world. He attacked the Overlord creatures, causing countless cultivators to roar. It's Su Xianren, he's still alive. It's him, he's still alive. He was once a legend, once an invincible emperor, killing until no one dared to call themselves supreme. He had once suppressed the four peak races until they were dim in comparison because he alone looked down on the past and present. He was the only supreme existence. However, the environment had changed. Overlords were everywhere, bringing disaster to the world. Now that he had appeared again in such a manner, how could the people of the world not know what he was going to do? They were shouting and roaring endlessly. At this moment, they really hoped that a young emperor would walk out from the universe and turn the tide. They wanted to eliminate all disasters and return a safe environment to the universe. That bastard is here. He's courting death. In the sealed heaven region, some old ancestors laughed sinisterly. He's really courting death. He dares to obstruct an Overlord. No matter how strong Su Xianren is now, he's still a supreme expert at most. He's just courting death if he wants to obstruct an Overlord. He is indeed seeking his own death. He also knows that there is no way out. The Tao Protector sneered and said, but he wants to fight against the Overlord and end in glory. Is that possible? It's just wishful thinking. The clans of the sealed heaven region were seething with anger. Because of Su Xianren, their clan had lost all face. Now that a new era had arrived, all the stains of the past should be erased. However, many people in the sealed heaven region sighed. It was different from what they had imagined. They had originally thought that the Overlord of their clan would rule over the primal chaos. But now, the Overlord was bringing disaster to the world. They, too, were part of the universe and deeply felt that the Overlord had gone too far. Laughable. Why should my heart ache? This is the glory of our clan. Didn't the peak clans of the past all stand atop mountains of corpses and seas of blood? The experts of the sealed heaven region who were doubting life all shook their heads. Why should their hearts ache for them? Shouldn't they be happy and cheering? So it's you. The sealed heaven Overlord stopped his slaughter. His ancient body leaked out energy, causing the heaven and earth to change shape. He was truly tyrannical to the point where the universe's space-time couldn't bear his domain. Gradually, the outline of the sealed heaven Overlord became clear. His figure was tall and sturdy. He was a humanoid life form. His ancient body that had been sealed for millions of years had begun to rot, but his body was seething with boundless essence blood that shook the universe. Although the current sealed heaven Overlord wasn't at his peak, he was still frightening enough. His cold eyes stared at Su Yan and shouted, "Why haven't you knelt yet? Being able to become my servant is a blessing you've cultivated for 3 lifetimes. You evil dog," Su Yan coldly shouted. His cold voice sounded calm, but it spread through the starry skies of the universe. Countless people were stunned. Their hair stood on end and the blood in their bodies surged. No one could contend against the Overlord who brought disaster to the world. The myriad clans were about to wither away. Who wouldn't tremble in fear? But now, Su Xianren had arrived and immediately called him an evil dog, cursing out the hearts of countless people. Flames of fury burned in sealing sky Overlord's eyes. His ancient body surged with an extremely violent energy as he charged toward Su Yin in an attempt to reduce him to ashes. Boom! However, Su Yan's blood boiled and emitted millions of strands of golden divine light. Accompanied by earth-shattering essence blood energy, his entire body seemed especially astonishing. It was as if he was bearing the weight of heaven and earth. His magical energy was overflowing. He actually managed to block the sealed heaven overlord's intimidation. This shocked the entire world. Everyone saw a glimmer of hope amidst their despair. Su Xianren might be able to win. Who would have thought someone like you could walk out from such a dilapidated universe? The sealed heaven overlord sinisterly said, "But what's the use? You'll never come into contact with it. What exactly is immortality? This is the sorrow of your world. I, Su Yin, have only roamed the universe for a few dozen years." Su Yin coldly said, "The sad one is you. You've been suppressed by the universe for millions of years. Now, you're neither human nor ghost. Who do you think is more pitiful?" The sealed heaven overlord angrily laughed. "That's right. I hate the universe to the extreme and want nothing more than to destroy all life in it. But right now, I'm the victor." He faced the sky and laughed. His tall and sturdy figure glowed and surged with heavenly might. He shouted, "I'll give you a chance. Submit to me, and I won't kill you." Su Yan's potential shocked the sealed heaven overlord. Even in prehistoric times, a person like Su Yin would be considered a genius. Moreover, Su Yin was able to stabilize the origin of heaven and earth for 10 years. He was very special. The sealed heaven overlord didn't want to kill Su Yin. Instead, he wanted to enslave him. Who do you think you are? You want to use the lives of all living beings for warmth? Aren't you afraid of being punished by the heavens? Su Yin angrily roared. The world was vast, and all life was in misery. This really stung Su Yin. His blood was boiling. He still hadn't forgotten his identity as the protector of the universe. So what if I'm punished by the heavens? The winner takes it all. I'm the victor now. The sealed heaven overlord laughed loudly. Then a bone-chilling coldness gushed out from his eyes. He coldly said, "And you, along with all life in the universe, are just lowly insects. I can kill as many as I want. The life here is mine to take. If you submit, you still have a chance to live. Otherwise, you'll all die." His voice exploded in the chaotic chaos ruins. The moment these words came out, the entire world quieted down. Was this the truth? Was this the nightmare of the universe's environment returning? They would all die. None of them would survive. "You evil dog!" Su Yin looked up and roared. "Since I can't stop the environment from returning and can't continue to suppress you evil dogs, then the current situation will be ended by me." Su Xianren. In the extremely oppressive chaos ruins, an old man with one foot in the grave stood out and roared, "Kill this old dog and quell the disaster. The human emperor shall be established. The human emperor shall be established. Kill this evil dog. Kill him." Countless people were roaring. Countless creatures were roaring, their voices echoing through the mountains, rivers, and great earth, scattering the clouds in all directions. Many people even wanted to turn into a flame of battle and return to Su Yan's body to provide him with power. The earth-shattering sound rumbled and shook the heavens and earth. The entire chaos ruins trembled involuntarily because of the boundless murderous intent. The entire chaos ruins were filled with murderous intent. Nobody could accept the words of the sealed heaven overlord. Ha ha ha! The sealed heaven overlord's burly body was filled with murderous intent. He laughed, and the world trembled. The sun seemed to have exploded, causing the world to fall into eternal darkness. Ignorant people, pitiful insects. The sealed heaven overlord's laughter was filled with cruel, murderous intent. "Then I'll show you how long a slightly stronger insect can stop me." Boom! He immediately attacked because he didn't want to waste any more time. A huge hand appeared in the sky, as if it was a cloud that could cover the world. With a rumble, it came crashing down. This hand was enough to crush everything. It was difficult to describe the might of the sealed heaven overlord. Even a powerful Su Yin seemed insignificant in front of his hand because it was too majestic and unfathomable. However, in the eyes of the world, Su Yan's back was too tall. He was like a god of war that protected the universe. He unleashed his most terrifying battle prowess. Die, he roared. His aura recovered to the extreme at lightning speed. Endless golden holy light burst out. He soared into the sky. No matter how much energy the giant hand contained, it couldn't suppress Su Yin. Su Yin unleashed an earth-shattering power and forcibly pushed back the giant hand. He then punched at the sealed heaven Overlord, shattering the bloody light in the sky. You're just an ant. Let's see how many rounds you can last against me. Sealing heaven's Overlord retracted his palm and turned it into a jet-black palm that struck towards Su Yin. Boom! The fist and palm collided. Heaven and earth trembled, the sun and moon fell, and the space-time exploded. This was also a destructive disaster. Their clash was too shocking. The energy they emitted covered the sky and earth. It surged into the vast territory and almost caused the sky to collapse. Countless people were overturned. Along with the storm and rubble, even cities collapsed one after another. However, these people didn't care about their own safety. Their eyes were fixed on the battlefield. They were roaring in their hearts, hoping that Su Xianren could win and kill the sealed heaven Overlord. Boom, boom, boom. In a short period of time, the two experts had clashed 3 times. Each clash was fiercer and more tyrannical than the last. Finally, the sky was filled with destructive light. It drowned the universe and shattered everything. The corner of the universe became blurry, as if it was about to collapse. Bam! Then, a beam of bloody light sputtered out and dyed the shattered starry sky red. It seemed to indicate that someone was dying in this battle of supremacy. Chapter 1302. Blood dyed the starry sky. A figure was sent flying. His entire arm was covered in cracks and blood splattered everywhere. His blood-soaked figure fell down and smashed into a pile of rubble. Everyone trembled. Su Xianren was sent flying. The battle had just begun, but Su Yin was already heavily injured. This made them despair. Even the powerful Su Xianren couldn't withstand it. One had to know that Su Yin was the strongest in the universe, but even he was defeated. Who could stop Sealing Skies, Overlord's crazy actions? I said you can't. Sealing Skies, Overlord's burly body emitted a powerful aura that surged into the vast world. He looked down at Su Yin from high above and said coldly, "You have one more chance. Submit to me or die." A supreme being was actually able to withstand a portion of his godly might. This made Sealing Skies, Overlord value Su Yin even more. If he could recruit such a genius with limitless potential, it would be a huge fortune. Boom! Just as he finished speaking, the rubble collapsed. Su Yin soared into the sky. His black hair danced in the wind, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He was unharmed. He stood at his peak, his aura swallowing rivers and mountains as he looked askance at Sealing Skies, Overlord. He laughed angrily and said, "You're an undying being, and I'm a supreme being. How much can you hurt me? You even have the audacity to say that you want to be my slave. I think you're not even fit to carry my shoes." Everyone was in an uproar. Su Xianren was unharmed. He was standing at his peak. The Undying's attack just now didn't cause any substantial damage to Su Yin. "The stronger you are, the more I can't bear to kill you." Sealing Skies, Overlord smiled sinisterly. "You're still an ant in my eyes. An ant trying to overturn the heavens? Ha ha, you're thinking too much. You can't even withstand a portion of my godly power. In the following battle, what will you use to fight me?" Sealing Skies, Overlord's aura became even stronger. His burly body glowed as ancient and vast essence blood flowed. It was as if the sea of the universe was roaring, shaking heaven and earth. "Is that so?" Su Yin pressed forward step by step. Every step he took caused boundless waves. He was like an emperor who had traversed time and space and was looking down on the world. Roar! The world changed along with Su Yan's movements. Pulsed. Soon, the universe released an ancient and powerful divine might, bestowing Su Yin with unparalleled combat strength. 2. In, with the power in. This scene shocked the world. A grandmaster of the occult arts controlled millions of rivers and mountains. He was like an emperor descending to the world, domineering and tyrannical. In a flash, he made his move. He commanded the universe and the earth. His own energy leaked out, resonating with the universe. He erupted with the strongest battle power and killed his way towards sealing skies, Overlord. You won't shed a tear until you see the coffin. Sealing skies, Overlord was angered. He was even surprised that Su Yin could control such powerful energy. The occult arts chapter, the topography chapter, and the heavenly momentum chapter, these two great treasures were gathered on Su Yan's body. Even Sealing Skies Overlord was moved. He no longer hid his battle power. His pitch-black hand rose up, emitting a terrifying fluctuation. In front, the power of the universe that was pushed by Su Yin trembled in front of Sealing Skies Overlord's hand. His entire hand seemed to be carved out of immortal gold. In an instant, it blasted forward with monstrous power. This scene frightened everyone in the world. The Emperor Su Yin, who commanded the world, was about to be destroyed in an instant. He was about to be buried in this universe, consigned to eternal damnation. Kill! Su Yan's roar exploded. He was still as domineering, decisive, tenacious, courageous, and never retreating. Boom! Su Yan's eyes widened. His body seemed to have swallowed the entire universe. The light of the Grand Tao, the origin of all things, flowed out and struck towards the incoming hand. Su Yan's figure and the pitch-black hand collided in a battle of supremacy. Every collision dyed the sky red. The Grand Tao was shattered and the world was destroyed. Chi-chi. Bloody light splattered. It was tragic and beautiful, burning with the flames of battle. Su Yin was injured. He seemed to have been suppressed by millions of mountains. It was a tragic sight. However, he became more courageous as he fought. His roar shook the universe. His blood burned, and his battle aura surged. He wanted to rely on his greatest potential to fight an immortal. Su Yan's ultimate goal was to use the boundless power of an immortal to stimulate the awakening of the body's greatest treasure. He didn't have 10 years to wait. He couldn't wait even a day. Only by fighting against an immortal and going against the heavens could Su Yin enter the immortal realm faster. Hence, there was no way out for this battle. He could only charge forward bravely and prove his Tao by killing. Boom, boom, boom. The large hand that was as black as ink attacked Su Yin again and again from all directions. The continuous suppression caused the sky to collapse. The stars in the outer realms were shattered. The sun withered, and the sea of stars was destroyed. His pitch-black hand could destroy all things. Su Yin went berserk over 100 times. He stood at his peak and attacked the hand to destroy it. This scene also angered Heaven Sealing Overlord. He suppressed Su Yin more than 100 times, but it didn't break his bones. Instead, it made him more courageous. Wong. Su Yan's blood-stained body emitted a terrifying aura. Vaguely, there was a supreme treasure that was about to be struck out by him. He was burning his life force to the extreme. Even a true dragon would be exhausted to death by such consumption. However, Su Yin continued to go berserk, releasing his strongest power to resist the forbidden supreme killing technique. Stubberbug, I'll send you on your way. Heaven Sealing Overlord was truly angered. His final strike made the great Tao tremble. It was as if the heavens were under his control. The ink-black palm finally surged with the supreme, immortal substance. Boom! One after another, the immortal matter was heavy enough to crush a corner of the universe. It struck down just like that, enough to destroy the most powerful creatures. Everyone felt that the entire battlefield was about to collapse. This was the energy of an immortal, a domain exclusive to this realm. The supreme palm struck Su Yan's body until blood spurted out. His bones were broken, and he was sent flying uncontrollably. Along the way, the hand ruthlessly pressed down on Su Yan's body. This boundless oppression shook Su Yan's body until it was about to break into two pieces. He was ruthlessly slammed into the ground. Anyone who dares to stop me will die. Heaven's sealing Overlord smiled cruelly. This was a bloody scene. Su Yan was slammed into the ground. His body caved in and his bones were broken. It was as if he had lost his last drop of blood. Su Yan, inside the temple, Liang Yan was trembling and crying. She really thought that Su Yan had been slapped to death. The entire temple was silent. Many experts of the older generation wanted to see the taboo of the temple take action to stop Heaven's sealing Overlord and give Su Yan a chance to live. However, the woman in purple didn't take action. Su Yan's actions were crazy. He was challenging an immortal. He wanted to dig out the greatest treasures of his body under the suppression of an immortal and enter the immortal realm. Therefore, the woman in purple wouldn't interfere in this battle. Moreover, this kind of injury couldn't kill Su Yan. He had experienced life and death tempering in the primal chaos pagoda for several years. Sometimes, he would suffer injuries even more serious than this. I hope he can do it. The woman in purple sighed. She was borrowing the power of the temple to recover from the losses of the long years and adapt to the current environment. She was very clear that this heaven-sealing Overlord was only the beginning. They would face even crueler things later on. Ha ha ha, do you see? Ignorant people, this is your hope. Heaven-sealing Overlord laughed loudly. In front of me, he's nothing but a lowly ant. If I were at my peak, I could crush him with a single finger. Everyone was silent. Many people felt that it was time to accept their fate. If Su Yan couldn't reverse the situation, then who in the entire Golden Age era could? Su Yan, stand up. There were also people who were unwilling to accept this and let out a loud roar. Just like back then in the immortal graveyard, when Su Yan was jointly targeted by several almighties, they wanted to see the current Su Yan stand up and prove himself once again. However, these voices were powerless. Even if he stood up, it wouldn't help. Is that so? Suddenly, a deep voice sounded. Heaven-sealing Overlord's face was gloomy as he looked at the person he had beaten into a dent. This person actually crawled up from the pool of blood. Crackling sounds could be heard from his body. This was the heaven patching technique circulating. Although Su Yan's injuries were extremely serious, under the circulation of this healing saint technique, thousands upon thousands of sources of qi and blood began to rush out from Su Yan's shattered body. Crack! His entire body began to reconstruct under the effects of the heaven-mending art. Soon, it was restored to its original state. Even the weak essence blood began to be replaced by powerful vitality due to the foundation of his body. It was a shocking scene. Su Yan was alive again and stood up. Standing on the blood-soaked ground, he looked exceptionally majestic and tall. Heaven-sealing Overlord's face was gloomy. He felt that Su Yan was humiliating him by standing up. Su Yan's chest heaved violently. His black hair draped over his shoulders, covering his face. Only a pair of eyes as sharp as heavenly blades emitted bone-chilling coldness. He reached out his hand and curled his finger at heaven-sealing Overlord. This kind of domineering attitude, shocked everyone. Everyone knew how serious Su Yan's injuries were. However, he stood up and even rapidly recovered. He once again turned into a golden god of war and stood between heaven and earth. He angrily said, "Come here. If you don't kill me, I will look down on you. You're courting death." Heaven-sealing Overlord was furious. He rushed over, his burly body emitting a terrifying aura. He raised his hand and smashed down, crushing the starry sky and covering everything as he ruthlessly suppressed Su Yan. Chapter 1303. The sky-sealing Overlord's hand was too huge, and it was difficult to see how vast it was. It seemed to extend from the outer realm, and the source could not be seen. This hand was enough to destroy everything. It suppressed the world, mountains and rivers, and suppressed all matter. It began to erupt towards Su Yan with a destructive blow. Although the blood-stained figure was under the sky, sealing Overlord's hand, it looked weak. However, the spiritual will he emitted was too terrifying, causing Su Yan's figure to be boundlessly majestic. He erupted, trying his best to revive and release his strongest power. His entire fist flowed with the light of all creation, outlining a universe and releasing the creation fist. I must win this battle. I must win. Su Yan roared angrily, releasing his wildest power to resist the palm falling from the sky. The fist and palm bombarded, causing the universe to whirl. The space and time between heaven and earth collapsed, causing the space and time to collapse. All the creatures in the chaos ruins saw this scene. They saw Su Yan turn into an unyielding god of war. Although he looked weak, the power he emitted was terrifying. He resisted the sky-sealing Overlord's palm. He was risking his life, doing everything he could to cut off his escape route, just for this battle. Break! Su Yan roared, surging the strongest power of his body and burning all his foundation, just for this battle. Boom! The giant palm was shaking slightly, as if it was going to be overturned by Su Yan. This scene really humiliated the sky-sealing Overlord. His ancient hand finally released the power of immortality. In fact, the sky-sealing Overlord did not want to use too much immortality against an ant. After all, he had suffered too much loss, and the more immortality he used, the less immortality he would have. However, the current situation forced him to erupt. In an instant, the sky-sealing Overlord's giant hand became much heavier. The sky collapsed, and the stars in the sky all exploded. What had stopped his palm? They were not on the same level, nor were they on the same level. Su Yan's entire body was about to explode, bearing an unparalleled impact. His body was really going to be torn apart. Puff! He coughed up blood and had to bear the fate of being suppressed. Su Yan roared in pain. His spine was about to collapse as he fell to the ground. Blood flowed from his wounds, dyeing the soil red. Hot blood sprayed everywhere, but he still exuded a wild, fighting spirit. They could only win this battle. They could not afford to lose. Su Yan gave up on everything, all for the sake of breaking through in battle. Only by enduring the continuous suppression of undying beings could he quickly dig out the strongest treasure in the human body and enter the ranks of undying overlords. Su Yan, Liang Yan cried bitterly. Why did he have to endure it? Why did Su Yan have to fight sealing heaven's overlord? This was not a battle that he should be the one to endure. It was too bitter. Su Yan's bones were shattered one after another. His body was in great pain. Any other supreme expert would have already lost their battle physique. But why did Su Yan have to bear all of this? In fact, the purple-robed woman knew very well that if not for Su Yan's crazy attempts over the years, which caused his strength to soar continuously in the domain of supreme experts, Su Yan would be equivalent to a monster. Otherwise, he would have died long ago. It was too difficult to fight against an undying being. Being suppressed along the way, the purple-robed woman had some doubts. Could one really force out the strongest treasure in the human body through a battle with an undying? Since Su Yan was still continuing, perhaps it could be done. Next, sealing heaven's overlord was furious because Su Yan had crawled up again. He stood up from the pool of blood and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, laughing wildly. What undying being! You're too weak. I haven't felt any pain yet. You evil dog, bring out your strongest power. Don't make me look down on you. I'll kill you, you little bastard. Sealing heaven's overlord's expression was ferocious as he leaped forward. Any supreme expert would have been destroyed in body and soul in a direct confrontation. Just the power flowing through his ancient body was enough to kill gods and Buddhas. Everything in the world would be destroyed by his power. Collapse. Su Yan's body was about to be pierced through. He sensed the terrifying might of an undying being and rushed towards Su Yan, wanting to cut his body and destroy his life mark, erasing him from the world. Yes, Su Yan roared. His body was burning. In a direct confrontation with an undying being, the strongest treasure in his body was about to erupt. This is the power. Su Yan seemed to have lost his mind. He found that this kind of energy was slowly flowing and taking root in his body. This should be what the purple-robed woman said, the undying energy that matured the body and grew. It was this kind of energy that made Su Yin burst with joy. He roared like a madman. "Come, your grandpa is here." It was still not enough. The threat of sealing heaven's overlord was not enough to speed up the growth of undying energy in Su Yin. He had to survive the South Pass and enter the immortal realm in the shortest time possible. Success or failure would depend on this period. He had to live on stubbornly so that he could excavate the fortunes in his body. Su Yin, war god. Everyone in the world went crazy. What was he doing? Was he seeking death? Many people couldn't bear to watch because it was time for sky-sealing Overlord to pay attention. He was tormenting Su Yin. His finger pressed down on Su Yan's shoulder, directly creating a bloody hole and almost cutting off his entire arm. Then, he lifted his foot and stomped on Su Yan's chest. He stomped on Su Yan's chest until his entire chest was collapsing and his flesh shell was about to collapse. This was a cruel destruction, a bloody suppression. Su Yan's body was riddled with wounds, and he could die at any moment. He had to go on his way in pain. He struggled in a pool of blood and roared in purgatory. He wanted to live more than anyone else and knew his own importance more than anyone else. He couldn't die and had to live on to accelerate the growth of the undying treasures in his body. He felt that he was very close to success and only needed a bit more time to do it. "I'm getting old," Su Yin roared. He had grasped the key point. Only undying materials could stimulate the growth of the treasures in his body. "You worm, let's see how many times you can resist." Sealing heaven's overlord was flustered and exasperated. Su Yin was actually provoking him. He truly didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. His power was aimed at supreme experts and could kill them with a single touch. However, Su Yin had resisted so many times and was still able to hold on. Moreover, Su Yan's willpower had exceeded sealing heaven's overlord's expectations. He could already stand shoulder to shoulder with any undying. Sealing heaven's overlord wanted to kill Su Yin at any moment. However, he truly cherished geniuses. If such a character was nurtured, he would have an incredible future. He might even be able to compete with the undying overlords of the world and go to the vast universe to carve out a vast land for himself. In the eyes of outsiders, Su Yin was truly counterattacking before his death. He relied on the heaven-mending technique to survive again and again. His entire body's foundation had been ignited. He even charged forward to attack, sealing heaven's overlord. Su Xianren. Everyone's emotions were about to explode. Su Yin actually charged forward again. Was he really seeking death? Bastard! Sealing heaven's overlord roared. He suddenly raised his palm and sent Su Yin flying with a slap. This attack was incredible. Su Yin's body was torn into pieces. He looked very old, and his skin and flesh had even withered. This was because Su Yin hadn't borrowed any worldly treasures since the beginning of the battle. He had only relied on his body's foundation. He wanted to squeeze out all of his foundation to accelerate the maturation of the undying material. "Valspawn, can you still stand up?" Sealing heaven's overlord looked down at Su Yin and said angrily, "I really can't bear to kill you. I'll give you one more chance. Submit to me." Puffed. Su Yin spat out a mouthful of blood and saliva at Sealing heaven's overlord. Sealing heaven's overlord's hopes of subduing Su Yin had completely died. The saliva was silently extinguished in front of him. He directly raised his foot, wanting to crush Su Yin. Boom! However, at this time, in the distant world, many large regions that had sunk into oblivion suddenly erupted with holy weapons. "Kill! Kill this evil dog! Even if Su Yin dies in battle, we can't humiliate him. Let's attack together. Instead of sitting here and waiting for death, we might as well attack together with Su Xianren and fight to our heart's content." The world was in chaos. Emotions exploded. Many people were crying. Too many experts of the tribes and clans had brought out the foundation of their tribes and unleashed their strongest power to reinforce Su Yin. Perhaps this strength was insignificant on the battlefield. However, they also wanted to do their part. They didn't want to be cowards. The strongest youths were fighting with their lives on the line. What couldn't they do? Now that things had progressed to this stage, it had truly ignited the madness of this world. Over 100 holy weapons attacked, and there were also old experts charging over, as if they were ready to die. You bunch of ants, you still want to rebel. Sealing Heaven's Overlord was enraged. As his eyes opened and closed, divine light shot out. Immortal power surged. He was too terrifying. Nothing could invade him. Any holy weapon that came close to him was silently extinguished. Even the light shooting out from his eyes cut through the long river of time and space, attacking the experts who attacked him. Blood flowed like a river in the distant world. Sealing Heaven's Overlord was furious. He raised a large hand and charged extremely far away, wanting to destroy the experts who disrespected him. He was now a demon lord, wreaking havoc in the world. A large number of peak experts died miserably. Holy weapons exploded one after another. Very few survived. Sealing Heaven's Overlord let out an extremely cruel, murderous voice. A bunch of sacrifices, and you want to turn the tables? I'll let you see how your hope will be slaughtered by me. Sealing Heaven's Overlord's Sea of Consciousness surged with immortal power and attacked Su Yan's Sea of Consciousness. He wanted to destroy Su Yan's immortal power first. Perhaps he felt that keeping Su Yan's body would be of great use. However, just as Sealing Heaven's Overlord's immortal power reached Su Yan's Sea of Consciousness, the cruelty on his face dissipated, replaced by disbelief. A magnificent figure sat cross-legged in Su Yan's Sea of Consciousness. It seemed to be sitting cross-legged in the future, looking down at Sealing Heaven's Overlord. This aura, this divine might. And from the beginning to the end, Su Yan hadn't used any immortal power to compete with Sealing Heaven's Overlord. Sealing Heaven's Overlord's heart was filled with fear. He thought of something. Could it be this lunatic? Impossible. Sealing Heaven's Overlord instantly denied. Who in the past could do this? Only the strongest successors of those orthodoxies with billions of years of history could do it. Who else could dig out the immortal power in a battle with an immortal and enter this stage? Bam! Su Yan's forehead burned with a terrifying soul flame, evaporating a part of Sealing Heaven's Overlord's immortal power in an instant. Sealing Heaven's Overlord had already gone mad when Su Yan was about to get up. He absolutely couldn't give Su Yan any chance. Even if he didn't think it was possible, he absolutely couldn't give Su Yan any chance or hope. Die. You'll never succeed. He lifted his foot and wanted to crush Su Yan's entire body, not giving him any hope of turning the tables. The gigantic foot emitted an immortal aura that filled the sky. This was the strongest attack of the Sealing Heaven's Overlord. It was enough to crush everything in the world. At this moment, Su Yan felt as if his body was being crushed and was about to be destroyed. I'm going to break through. Su Yan's blood-stained body was burning with golden flames. It was unbearably itchy. His blood, his bones, his flesh, and even his hair were all itchy. This was a terrifying change, the beginning of a life evolution. There's more at night. Chapter 1304. Extreme Human Tao to Immortal Realm. This was a metamorphosis of the meaning of life. It was a completely different level of life. The process was naturally extremely difficult. Moreover, Su Yan's experience was pitifully little. Although the purple-clothed woman had experience of metamorphosis, it was completely different from Su Yan's experience. After all, an immortal realm expert had spent a lot of effort and used a large amount of immortal matter to mature the immortal matter in the purple-clothed woman's body. It was the sacrifice of an immortal realm expert that allowed the purple-clothed woman to finally step into the immortal realm. However, Su Yan was different. He was now fighting with an immortal realm expert to force out his strongest potential. He wanted his body to nurture immortal power and complete the leap of life. Su Yan had no experience of such a metamorphosis of the meaning of life. Although there were records in the bone books, there was no record of what would happen through one's own breakthrough. Now, Su Yin's entire body was itching unbearably. His mind was about to collapse. This itching was even more unbearable than death. He wanted nothing more than to disintegrate his body so that he wouldn't have to endure this pain. Ah! Su Yin let out a painful roar. The process was truly unbearable. Su Yin felt as if he had experienced an eternity. He wanted nothing more than to hammer his own heart and immediately go on his way. But in these 10 years, hadn't he experienced enough death? He had almost died trying to break through. Now that it was the final battle, Su Yin was willing to give up everything just to succeed. Then he would never allow himself to fail. I want to live on. He let out an angry roar. In the eyes of outsiders, Su Yin seemed very pitiful because he was about to be trampled to death by Sealed Skies, Overlord. This time, Sealed Skies, Overlord didn't give Su Yin any hope. He felt a lingering fear because Su Yan's primordial spirit had already stepped into the immortal realm. This didn't conform to common sense. He was simply a monster. People of the world would first step into the immortal realm before breaking through to the primordial spirit. Moreover, breaking through to the primordial spirit was exceptionally difficult. Only when the primordial spirit produced immortal matter could one have a long lifespan. But Su Yin had actually torn through the barrier of the primordial spirit first. In that case, reaching the sempiternal realm wouldn't be difficult for him at all. With sealing heaven's Overlord's experience, even if Su Yin could break through, he would still need several decades to slowly evolve his life form. Now, he was really worried that Su Yin would force out the immortal potential in his body by fighting with him, thus accelerating his evolution. After all, if Su Yin was given enough time, he would definitely be able to step into the sempiternal realm. Since this madman was in such a hurry to fight with his life and didn't give him any time to catch his breath and break through, it was very likely that he was trying to break through. This lunatic! Sealing Skies, Overlord roared uncontrollably. He truly felt that Su Yin was too crazy and ruthless. If he wasn't eliminated, he would definitely become a huge threat in the future. In the past, there had been many examples of successful sempiternal realm cultivators. Of course, there were very few of them. They were all supreme Taoist orthodoxies that had been passed down for millions and millions of years. However, Su Yan's primordial spirit was the first to transform. Perhaps he could succeed as well. Death was approaching, but Su Yin couldn't sense it. He wanted to live on. He fought with all his might. The short span of a breath was as long as a universe era. In the end, Su Yin endured it. He was like a slumbering demon god that was awakening. His entire body, every inch of flesh, every drop of essence blood, every strand of hair, and even every inch of skin. After enduring the unbearable itch, Su Yin felt as though his life form had broken through. A shackle had been broken, and he was evolving beyond a higher life form. He was so comfortable that his body couldn't help but tremble. The leap in life was indescribable. It was as though he had jumped out of the 3 realms and 5 elements and was no longer bound by shackles. He was truly living his own life. Ha ha! Su Yin was finally excited. He laughed like a madman. This scene appeared in the eyes of the world. Everyone felt that Su Yin should give up. He had already fought to this extent. What was the point of continuing? He might as well die. Boom! The void suddenly became turbulent, so much so that it trembled. Although it was difficult for outsiders to notice such minute changes, Sealing Skies, Overlord noticed it immediately. This is impossible. Sealing Skies, Overlord's expression changed greatly. He had caught a terrifying transformation within Su Yan's body. This transformation was so rare that it was frightening even in the most prosperous era of the prehistoric era. If news of this were spread, it would cause a terrifying earthquake. If an example of this transformation appeared in a confrontation with an immortal, it was difficult to imagine what would happen next. Now, he saw this type of legend appear with his own eyes, personally witnessing it. Actually, in prehistory, this was already a great honor. Even for undying beings, it was still a great honor because this type of hero was a dragon or phoenix. In the future, they were destined to shake the world with their might. Those were terrifying existences, just like a great cosmos, even if it had to bow down and tremble beneath their feet. One could well imagine just how glorious they were, how great their accomplishments were. Suyan's body was transforming. His black hair was burning fiercely. Every inch of his skin was glowing. Even his bones were burning. His entire body seemed to have turned into a golden body. This was a terrifying transformation of the human body. Suyan's blood was boiling. His entire body was burning, because this was the most powerful treasure in the human body, surging, burning, boiling, roaring. Finally, these substances poured out energy, covering Suyan's entire body. For a moment, his body seemed ancient. There was a terrifying prehistoric aura that came crushing down. Suyan felt the world change. Everything was quiet, and he himself was buried in the earth, in the soil of good fortune. He was absorbing the earth's nutrients and growing stronger. Time seemed to have passed for as long as billions of years. The ancient time and space buried Suyan's memories and life imprints. He had forgotten who he was. However, only one memory, a mysterious chapter, began to explode in Suyan's heart. Body-nurturing art. Suddenly, Suyan saw his prehistoric big brother standing in front of him, chanting a supreme scripture. Moreover, this chanting contained the power of spirit awakening. It awakened Suyan's life imprints in the void of the burial realm, allowing him to seek his true self. His big brother was too terrifying. Moreover, the body-nurturing art that was sealed in Suyan's sea of consciousness by his prehistoric big brother was also unsealed. The body-nurturing art seized the good fortune of heaven and earth. Suyan had long since reached the second level of the body-nurturing art. However, it wasn't too profound. Now that the body-nurturing art was circulating on its own, Suyan had comprehended all the profound meanings of the second level. Suyan was like a strange stone of heaven and earth. His body glowed with light, like a supreme golden body born between heaven and earth. Right now, Suyan had broken through to the immortal realm. Now that he was absorbing the second level of body-nurturing art, one could imagine how shocking the amount of body-nurturing art was. In a short period of time, the vast world dimmed. Endless energy, moonlight, starlight, earth vein dragon energy, and all sorts of useful substances crazily surged towards Suyan's body. All rivers flowed into the sea. With a single absorption, the energy of an endless territory was swallowed, passing through Suyan's body. And Suyan was still absorbing. How can he succeed? Sealed Heaven's Overlord's eyes widened in anger. Actually, all of this happened in a short period of time. He had to stop it. In fact, with Sealed Heaven's Overlord's combat strength, he could easily kill Suyan in a flash. However, he still felt that he was too slow. Suyan's absorption made Sealed Heaven's Overlord nervous and uneasy. He had to get rid of Suyan in an instant. However, just as his foot was about to stomp on Suyan, a golden rope drilled out. It was like an ancient dragon that followed his foot and bound his entire leg. The temporary obstruction made Sealed Heaven's Overlord furious. He used his immortal power to suppress the energy of the immortal binding rope and stomped on Suyan. Wong. However, Suyan's transformed body bloomed with golden treasures. This was the blooming of all things, blocking Sealed Heaven's Overlord's foot. After all, with the immortal binding rope binding him, Sealed Heaven's Overlord's strength wasn't particularly shocking. However, he seemed to have lost his mind. He stomped on Suyan again and again, but he still couldn't break the golden universe. What's going on? Everyone was silent. What had happened? What made Sealed Heaven's Overlord go crazy? What made him attack so crazily and want to kill Suyan? The purple-clothed woman sitting cross-legged in the temple was even more shocked. Did Suyan really succeed? He really did it. He really proved his Tao through killing and killed his way into the ranks of the immortal overlords. During the process, not only did Sealed Heaven's Overlord fail to stomp on Suyan, but Suyan also took advantage of this time to absorb more than 100 times, darkening the universe. Endless energy washed Su Yan's body, including a huge amount of origin energy, and baptized his battle constitution. The transformation of the meaning of life required a terrifying amount of resources. Su Yan used everything he had and turned all of it into life matter, replenishing the resources needed for Su Yan to break through to the living creature level. He exhausted everything, and his evolution's speed soared. Dawn. In the end, Sealed Heaven's Overlord unleashed 120% of his strength. His ancient and burly figure spurted out all of his immortal matter and released the strongest power, trying to tear Su Yan apart. Su Yan's body, which was lying on the ground, suddenly opened his eyes. His pupils were so sharp that they caused a huge crack to appear in the void. In the end, wisps of immortal might rose from Su Yan's shell. This was a release from the inside. Although it was only a small amount, each wisp of immortal matter released was extremely terrifying. He relied on his own body to break through. How could an ordinary, undying being compare to him? This type of material was supreme, just like a type of terrifying immortal Tao light burning, stimulating Su Yan's physical body, terrifying to the heavens. Roar! Su Yan let out a long roar. His aura was completely different. It was magnificent to the extreme. Although the amount of immortal matter produced in his body was still small, his aura was too shocking. He was like a peerless overlord coming out of nowhere. Rumble. The entire land of chaos was shaking. It was shaking along with Su Yan. Roar. With a series of roars, Su Yan's aura became more and more terrifying. It was like billions of tsunamis were crashing on the earth, causing the world to tremble. Oh my God! In the entire chaos ruins, countless orthodoxies, including the old people who were left behind after the destruction of their clans, roared in excitement. What did they see? Su Xianren rose again. Su Yan's aura was like a bull. His aura was too blazing, like countless suns burning together. It was too brilliant, shaking the universe and shattering the river of time. He must be eliminated. Sealed Heaven's Overlord's eyes were red. Su Yan must be eliminated. Su Yan had just broken through. Sealed Heaven's Overlord didn't believe that Su Yan's combat strength was extraordinary and had the strength of an immortal overlord. He reached out his hand and recalled Sealed Heaven's domain's Sealed Heaven's diagram. Sealed Heaven's Overlord, who had a natal true treasure, was much stronger. He roared, "You won't live. Even if you broke through, you won't live. I'll kill you and devour your immortal power. Then I'll be able to return to my peak state. Evil creature, I'll kill you to prove my Tao." Su Yan pounced in front of Sealed Heaven's Overlord. Immortal might surged out from Su Yan's body. Right now, I'm in urgent need of Tao verification monthly votes. Chapter 1305. Su Yan's figure was majestic. He was no longer weak and insignificant. His life had evolved. His aura was incomparably terrifying. Streaks of immortal matter rushed out from his body. They were thick and terrifying, revolving around Su Yan's body. They were like giant golden dragons, revolving around Su Yan. Immortal aura leaked out. Su Yan's aura surged by a large margin. Although Su Yan had just stepped into the immortal realm and the amount of immortal matter in his body was limited, he relied on himself to break through. The immortal matter produced by his body was exceptionally powerful. Boom! Like a gigantic golden dragon, his aura suppressed the universe as he charged towards Sealing Heaven's Overlord. His words infuriated Sealing Heaven's Overlord. Sealing Heaven's Overlord also released his strongest battle strength. Immortal matter surged violently. "You worm, do you think you can overturn the heavens?" Sealing Sky's Overlord instantly raised his hand, forming a black palm print. Immortal light surged as it slammed toward Su Yan. "Vicious dog fist." Su Yan roared. This was excitement. This was an exciting speech. How could he not be excited? After enduring all kinds of pain and suffering and experiencing all kinds of life and death situations, he had finally overcome the hurdle. He proved his Tao through killing and entered the ranks of the immortal realm. Sealing Skies, Overlord's nose was almost crooked from anger. The spectators also went crazy. At this moment, Su Yan's battle strength was monstrous. He punched out and solidly collided with the black palm print. In an instant, space-time collapsed. Heaven and earth trembled. The vast world trembled. Then, countless space-time cracks appeared, penetrating far away. It was difficult to find the source. It seemed to penetrate into the origin of the universe. Everyone saw the golden divine light released, piercing through the darkness. The black palm print was trembling. Whoa! Su Yan's fist flowed with immortal energy. It was as if a giant golden dragon was lying on his fist. His fist print was matchless. Vicious dog fist, who can contend against it? Su Xianren is invincible. You have the guts to suppress that evil dog. Slaughter him. At this moment, Su Yan seemed to bear the weight of the universe and possess the momentum of the universe. Because of this, he was too valiant. He swung his fists continuously, and his immortal battle physique became even more blazing. Su Yan was still adapting to the immortal realm. In fact, he was trying to dig deeper into the meaning of immortality. He felt that he could still improve and improve. In fact, his room for improvement was extremely huge. If it wasn't for the fact that he lacked all sorts of resources, Su Yan would definitely be able to soar even higher. But for now, it was enough to deal with Sealing Skies' Overlord. The two great experts confronted each other, stirring up a storm in the nine heavens. The auras they released collided together, and it was as if two great universes were colliding. Terrifying waves of the nine heavens erupted, directly rushing towards the great stars in the heavens. Their battle prowess was too great, and the common people found it hard to look at them directly. Even the powerful beings were trembling, and their souls were throbbing. It was simply as if the end of the universe had arrived. Bastard, hand over your life. Sealing Skies' Overlord was, after all, a veteran expert. Although he had been trapped for 1,000,000 years, he had recovered quite a bit of his vitality. At this moment, he was trying his best to revive himself. A huge figure appeared behind him, releasing ripples that could seal the sky and the earth. The vast world was sealed, and all living matter was suppressed. Moreover, the enormous figure raised a large hand. It was like a dark prison that could easily lock onto a small world. It directly pressed down and enveloped Su Yan. Sealing Skies' Overlord was attacking Su Yan's weakness. After all, an expert who had just stepped into the immortal realm definitely wouldn't have any immortal realm secret arts. Although he had two of the strongest secret arts in history, Su Yan still couldn't push his secret arts to the level of the immortal realm. The dark prison descended and locked down Su Yan. At this moment, the huge life force flowing around Su Yan vanished completely. Sealing Sky Prison. The immortal realm secret art was released, suppressing Su Yan's life force. At the same time, the prison force was activated, and millions of black sword embryos burst out, slashing at Su Yan's body. Dawn! Su Yan stepped on the sky. His body was like the universe, and his head was the firmament. His body glowed, and it was especially blazing. His pores spewed out the primordial force of all things, and his body turned into a golden universe. It vibrated with a terrifying tide of life, piercing through the darkness. Universe Fist. Su Yan roared furiously. His fist imprint was unparalleled, and it was surrounded by the might of the immortal realm. This secret art was created by Su Yan, and it improved as his cultivation level increased. Now that the Universe Fist was unleashed, it resonated with his body. Suddenly, a huge figure gushed out from his fist. An indomitable golden war god appeared in the sky. It was boundlessly huge, and it opened the dark prison in an instant. Its roar shook the mountains and rivers. Bang! The dark prison exploded, and the huge golden figure traversed time and space, rushing towards Sealing Skies' Overlord. What? Sealing Skies' Overlord's expression changed. He had grasped the immortal realm's secret art. The Universe Fist, with Su Yan as the foundation, had also evolved into a great killing technique. It was Su Yan's innate ability. The golden figure was majestic and peerless. It was surging with divine radiance, and even Sealing Sky's Overlord found it extremely strenuous. He was about to be crushed. Buzz! Suddenly, Sealing Sky's Overlord raised his finger. It enlarged and was surrounded by the immortal realm light beam. It was extremely sharp. Heaven's sealing finger. It was as if a huge dark pillar had shot up into the sky. The huge finger propped up the sky, interweaving with the immortal realm inscriptions. It pierced through the golden figure and crushed it into pieces. Then it rushed towards Su Yin rapidly. Su Yin resisted with his fist, but this heaven-sealing finger was extremely heavy. Su Yan's fist was stinging with pain. His flesh split open, and his bones could be seen. His body trembled as he let out a low roar. His body turned into a universe, isolating himself from the suppression of the heaven-sealing finger. This is bad. Su Yin lacks the corresponding secret art. He's at a disadvantage. This is a forbidden absolute art. Su Yin hasn't grasped it. If this drags on, it'll be very bad. The spectators were shocked. They were really worried that Su Yin would be defeated, and the Chaos Ruins would once again enter a bloody day. What is this guy doing? The purple-robed lady frowned slightly. Su Yin had the ability to kill Sealing Sky's Overlord. After all, Su Yin had grasped a great killing weapon, an immortal realm puppet. At this moment, Su Yin had summoned the immortal realm puppet. He could definitely beat up Sealing Sky's Overlord. However, Su Yin didn't. He was fighting a bitter battle with Sealing Sky's Overlord. It was difficult to determine the victor between the two experts. Su Yin didn't need to waste time with Sealing Sky's Overlord. After all, he had just broken through and had to stabilize his realm as soon as possible. He even needed to increase his accumulation in the immortal realm. There were still many things waiting for him in the future. The Dao Palace's taboo was anxious for Su Yin. What was he doing? Valspawn, let's see how long you can last. Sealing Sky's Overlord had a look of victory. He had grasped many immortal realm secret arts, and he frequently used them to attack Su Yin. As for Su Yin, he only had strength. However, it was extremely difficult for him to unleash his strongest combat strength. One had to admit that Su Yin was constantly at a disadvantage in this battle. However, his heart was getting calmer. He realized that his body temperature was getting higher. His body seemed to be mutating. It seemed to be similar to the evolution of life. Could it be that he could continue evolving? The current Su Yin was like someone who had been trapped in the 8 trigrams furnace for a decade. His body temperature was blazing. The flames that were emitted from his pores were already burning the void. Black hole. The mutation of the human body was different from when he reached the immortal realm. However, Su Yin realized that his body seemed to be undergoing some kind of mutation. It was very significant and terrifying. Thus, Su Yin kept his cool and continued to fight against Sealing Heaven's Overlord. The more brutal the suppression, the hotter his body temperature became. Boom! Sealing Sky's Overlord, on the other hand, wanted to kill Su Yin quickly and eliminate a huge threat. Now that the Fontion diagram had been brought out, the Fontion Overlord who wielded the diagram was too important a threat to Su Yin. Although it was extremely difficult to suppress Su Yin in one go, it could worsen his injuries. Su Yin's mouth and nose were bleeding. His body, which was extremely hot, was being dissected as if it were being roasted. It was painful and unbearable. In the end, Su Yin let out a roar. It was because his heart was beating faster and at a shocking rate, releasing thunderous sounds. The sound was deafening, and it was accompanied by a strand of terrifying prehistoric suppression. It was especially terrifying. What's wrong with me? Su Yan's eyes were turning black. He felt that his body was really burning and about to explode. He was walking toward death. In the end, Su Yin let out a long roar. He was so hot that he was about to disintegrate. However, he found that his burning body was climbing at a terrifying speed. This was the improvement of a human body's toughness. It was like an ordinary iron transforming into a divine weapon. The process was extremely abnormal. Vaguely, Su Yan's treasure body was flowing with a faint golden substance. This wasn't a physical phenomenon brought about by divine power, but Su Yan's treasure body. His skin was turning pale golden, as if it was about to become a golden body. Not good. Finally, sealing heaven's Overlord's expression changed. His heart was filled with fear. He had clearly seen Su Yan's strange change. He immediately thought of a supreme treasure body. Sealing Sky's Overlord was terrified. Su Yan was simply a monster. It was rumored that some of the best among the most powerful overlords were quite extraordinary, able to cultivate terrifying battle constitutions. Now, Su Yan's supreme treasure body was beginning to show signs. This made Sealing Sky's Overlord roar. His aura surged, and he released the power of the Sealing Skies diagram, which descended from the sky in an instant. Boom! He used his strongest power to kill Su Yan. He couldn't let him succeed. However, just as the peerless killing intent was about to land on Su Yan's treasure body, at this moment, his pupils suddenly widened. Even his eyes turned pale golden. The radiance emitted when he opened them was so resplendent that it was as if billions of suns were condensed together. It was enough to blind the eyes of the undying. Su Yan's entire person changed. His body was pale golden, and even his hair was pale golden. An abnormally majestic power flowed in his body. It was as if the legendary, indestructible golden body had been born. In an instant, it was boundlessly terrifying. Su Yan's aura was too terrifying. When he saw Sealing Sky's Overlord, the light in his eyes was frightening. His faint golden hair danced wildly as he unleashed a terrifying strength. With a single slap, the heaven-sealing ruler and the heaven-sealing pattern were sent flying. Blood splattered everywhere. Boom! Then he pounced and arrived in front of Sealing Sky's Overlord. His pale golden body was filled with the supreme power of a treasure body. Chapter 1306. Su Yan's entire flesh shell was pale gold. This was not caused by the divine power in his body, but rather a transformation of the body's essence. Su Yan's pale, golden body was filled with a vague supreme treasure body energy. It was also filled with a world-shaking pressure, which made Su Yan fearful. The change in his physical body was too sudden. He even felt that his physique was changing and becoming much stronger. His original body should have been the Heaven-Earth Mother body, but because he had stepped into the deathless realm, his life force had undergone a transformation. In other words, his current body constitution was also the Heaven-Earth Mother body, but had undergone a shocking transformation. Because of that, he had cultivated a supreme treasure body, which was equivalent to a special secret art. Su Yan's divine power was vast. He suddenly roared, "Evil dog!" His words were like thunder, causing Sealing Heaven's Overlord to tremble in fear. Even a mortal realm expert was frightened. Only those who had experienced the prehistoric battles would know how strong the immortal golden body was. Although Su Yan had just obtained the initial strength of the immortal golden body, it was enough to defeat 99% of the immortal realm experts. Dong! Su Yan punched out with a domineering aura. His pale, gold body glowed as he circulated the supreme treasure body energy. It was boundless and terrifying. This punch was unstoppable. Even the powerful Sealing Heaven's Overlord felt a chill in his heart. However, he had no choice but to erupt with his strongest immortal strength to stop Su Yan. His entire palm glowed as he used a great technique to block Su Yan's punch. Boom! The bloody scene made everyone unable to believe their eyes. Sealing Heaven's Overlord's palm was shattered. Su Yan's pale gold fist contained unparalleled power. This was the supreme treasure body. Even though it was just the beginning, his physical body was already dominating his peers. Pooh! Sealing Heaven's Overlord coughed out blood as his entire arm was shattered. It really is the legendary supreme treasure body. His heart was filled with fear. If he was at his peak, he would not be afraid of Su Yan's newly cultivated immortal golden body. However, for an immortal who was severely injured, it was impossible for him to compete with Su Yan. Boom! Sealing Heaven's Overlord decisively took out the Sealing Heaven's diagram and attacked Su Yin. At the same time, Sealing Heaven's Overlord fled. He didn't want to stay here for even a second longer and ran as far as he could. Look, the evil dog ran away. It was scared away by Su Yin. As expected, Su Yin has stepped into the Forbidden Realm. His courage can suppress evil dogs, and his strength can suppress evil dogs. He is truly powerful and exceptional. Good heavens, we're saved. The entire place was in an uproar. Countless cultivators cried out in excitement. Su Xianren actually defied the heavens and rushed into the forbidden domain. Everyone found this hard to believe. How exactly did he do it? This man was so tyrannical that it made them feel suffocated. You can't escape. In the face of the incoming Fengtian diagram, Su Yan's move was simple and domineering. He raised his hand and pressed down on Fengtian diagram. This scene shocked everyone. One had to know that this was an immortal treasure. Now, Su Yan was facing it head-on with his physical strength. Was he not afraid that his palm would shatter? However, the results stunned everyone. Fengtian diagram was slapped by Su Yan until it cried out in pain. Although this diagram also surged with a terrifying suppressive force, Su Yan's pale golden body was flowing with a supreme force that was terrifying beyond compare. Did he really think that a supreme treasure body was made of paper? Even if it was just an inkling, it would still be a peerless heaven's pride in the prehistoric era, an overlord among the immortals. Boom! Su Yan continued to attack and damage the Fengtian diagram's foundation. Moreover, the diagram was also grasped by Su Yan's palm. No matter how hard the Fengtian diagram struggled, it couldn't escape from Su Yan's palm. His body was too tough. Legend has it that once the immortal golden body was cultivated, the body could be considered a supreme, killing treasure that could destroy everything. However, this type of physique was too rare. A grand completion treasure body could sweep through the world in the most prosperous era of the prehistoric era. An immortal overlord. This evil creature, could it be that he relied on himself to break through? Is he really that powerful? Plus, his path has only just begun. If I don't get rid of this brat, there will be endless troubles in the future. Sealing Heaven's Overlord, who had fled far away, was in despair. Su Yan was actually able to suppress an immortal treasure with his bare hands. Could it be that he had actually cultivated the immortal golden body of the Supreme Treasure series? The immortal golden body was a rare and supreme battle physique among the Supreme Treasure series. It was peerlessly powerful, and now Su Yan had only just touched it. His battle physique was pale golden in color. Once his body turned golden, it meant that Su Yan had completely cultivated the immortal golden body. He would be able to become a top immortal overlord in this world. He would be able to contend against the successors of the strongest orthodoxies. This was a supreme treasure body. It also had another name, the Diamond Unbreakable Physique. Once cultivated, the body would be virtually indestructible. Even if one's lifespan were to wither, the body would never deteriorate. Sealing Heaven's Overlord didn't even dare to think about it. Su Yan had just broken through to the immortal realm, yet he had already touched the immortal golden body. How could he be so monstrous? Su Yan was now a monster. He had made Sealing Heaven's Overlord lose his will to fight. If the battle continued, he would be killed by Su Yan. In the distant world, Su Yan stood calmly. A sword embryo floated above his head. A golden rope was revolving around Su Yan. At the same time, the struggling Sealing Heaven's diagram in his hand calmed down. The diagram was translucent and golden in color. It was densely covered with mysterious immortal words and emitted an aura that could seal the sky and the earth. Boom! Su Yan waved his hand. The Sealing Heaven's diagram appeared in the sky and rapidly enlarged. It flowed with immortal might and covered a distance of millions of miles. At the same time, the golden catalog covered the sky and pounced toward the fleeing Sealing Heaven's Overlord. Bastard! Sealing Heaven's Overlord was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. His natal treasure had been refined by Su Yan, and his spiritual imprint had been severed. It had completely belonged to Su Yan. Now, Su Yan was even using it against him. This scene caused the entire Sealing Heavens region to panic. What the F***CK was this? The Sealing Heavens diagram had been snatched away by Su Xianren. Even their progenitor was on the run. It's over. Our race is completely finished. Su Xianren has stepped into the Forbidden Realm. Didn't they say it was impossible? The impossible has become possible. How terrifying is this? The Tao Protector was paralyzed on the ground, trembling. Who would have thought that this would happen? Originally, this was the most glorious day of their race. But now, the legend had collapsed. Even their progenitor had been defeated. Moreover, he had lost to Su Yan, a Su Xianren who had cultivated for less than 100 years. Evil dog, you won't be able to escape. Su Yan's body shone with a golden brilliance. He strolled through time and space. Every step he took could cross over 100 domains. His speed was too fast. His boundless divine might shook the heaven and earth. Human Emperor, many people couldn't help but prostrate in worship. This was the world's supreme evaluation of him. Countless cultivators revered him. Today, Su Yan was too powerful. He looked down on the vast earth. Even the taboo existences who had brought chaos to the world had been defeated and were even on the run. Who says there are no miracles in this world? Some people murmured. Su Xianren had created too many miracles. Today, the taboo Overlord had brought chaos to the world. He had once again defied the heavens and entered the immortal realm, intimidating all the immortal experts. This was equivalent to breaking the chaos. At the same time, the pain and sorrow of his breakthrough was clearly seen by the world. He had to fight against an immortal to force out Su Yan's potential. Sealing Heaven's Overlord was still on the run. In the end, he had fled to the Sealing Heavens region. Boom! Su Yan's footsteps paved a golden path that extended to the Sealing Heavens region. His arrival made the entire Sealing Heavens region tremble. All the experts in the clan were terrified. Back then, Su Yan had forced the Sealing Heavens region to lower their heads when he was at the Almighty Realm. They had to pay a huge price to appease Su Yan's anger. Now he had come again. He had come, but he was standing in a brand new realm. The entire Sealing Heavens region's clansmen felt that everything was over. Ha ha! That evil dog is finally finished. He has killed too many people. He must be beaten to death. Let's go and have a look. We'll help the human emperor and see how miserable that evil dog's end is. That evil dog is going to be punished. He won't be able to atone for his sins even if he dies 100 times. A storm surged in the chaotic ruins. Too many experts crossed the void and rushed toward the Sealing Heavens region. They wanted to see the end of Sealing Heavens Overlord. They wanted to see how the taboo demon who wanted to slaughter the world would be punished. However, when they were about to arrive at the Sealing Heavens region, an even bloodier incident spread. What was he doing? Countless people's scalps went numb. They couldn't believe their eyes. Even Su Yan, who was as determined as iron, frowned. That was too cruel. The Overlord was indeed too cruel. Boom! The return of the conferred heaven Overlord seemed to foreshadow a major turning point in the fate of the entire realm of sealed heaven. However, this turning point stunned everyone in the world. Everyone who came to watch felt their hair stand on end and their bodies emitted cold air. That was because the entire Sealing Heavens region continued to collapse. Countless clansmen were turned into mud, and the purest essence of life flowed out. The Sealing Heavens region was like a giant demon's den. Thousands of creatures died tragically. The aura of life leaked out and gathered in the Sealing Heavens Overlord's body. Even the bodies of the divine king's experts collapsed. Before they died, they couldn't figure out why their revered ancestor wanted to kill them. No, even though the mighty beings were screaming and struggling, they could not escape their fates. Their bodies disintegrated and turned into pure divine power that flowed back into the flesh shell of the Overlord of the Sealed Heaven territory. The declining aura of the Sealing Heavens region's Overlord rose at a terrifying speed. Why? Why is our ancestor doing this? The protectors roared. Their eyes were red. 99% of their clansmen had died. Not many had survived. Their bloodline was about to be wiped out. Why did their ancestor want to kill them? Why? They were terrified, desperate, and even resentful. Too many of them had died. Their children and even their elders had died. These were their bloodline, but now they had all become sacrifices. Why? Sealing Heaven's Overlord said indifferently, "Your clan was glorious because of me. 1,000,000 years have passed. You have been glorious for 1,000,000 years. This is the cause. Now, I am taking away all that I have given you." This is the effect. It was a cruel reality, a bloody incident. The Tao Protector and the others were all stunned. The surviving cultivators of the Sealing Heavens region were also stunned. They couldn't believe what they had just heard. It turned out that they weren't the bloodline descendants of their ancestor. They were just a sect he had casually created. Sealing Heaven's Overlord could take everything away. The burning blood of countless living beings had given Sealing Heaven's Overlord peerless combat strength. His aura was extremely terrifying. He was very close to his peak. He said coldly, "It's all over. Su Yin, although you are strong, you can't stop me at my peak. Moreover, your immortal golden body has just shown signs. It's impossible for you to maintain the supreme treasure body state. What do you have to fight me now?" He was right. Su Yan's pale, golden body was transforming. It was about to return to its original appearance. His aura was also greatly weakened. The supreme treasure body was too special. Su Yan found it difficult to understand the changes in his body. However, he was extremely calm. He stood outside the Sealing Heavens region, his black hair draped over his shoulders. His eyes were deep as he watched everything calmly.